Get ready for it. Make the ground shake.
Welcome everyone to the IATL Rocket League qualifier number 2 for the month of September. Excited to welcome everybody back and to welcome just about 40 teams into this month's event. Really excited to see some returning faces and some new ones as well. And to get into some more Rocket League action, of course, welcome back to week number 2 of this month. My name, of course, Troy Welling, and bringing the action next to me, unfortunately, this week is going to be Trevor, Confused Caribou McNeil, and we are going to be getting back into some action as per usual. Trevor, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm excited for some more Rocket League, like you said, some new faces, some returning faces, and of course, we're excited about the return of football. Duh, that's hello.
Yeah,
I'm not a Buccaneers fan, but I had
absolutely.
to do it. But I'm very excited for Rocket League here tonight because we've seen such incredible teams show up, and there was like 3 or 4 of them that were like I never heard of them. It was their first time appearing in the IATL Open, and they made a hell of a run into top 8 of last week's qualifier. So I'm excited to see them come back and try to get their name on the ticket for the finals at the end of the month.
Yeah, and a couple of returning faces from last week, Amber Gesa being one of them. We're not seeing any of the
Yep.
top Cougars teams, I believe. I think I saw Revezi, which was Stealth and
Yeah,
Revezi on that Stevzy team, which is two good players that we know of, but no Smokes that I've seen, no Kiernan, I don't think, going into this week. So that's a lot of opportunity for everyone else in this qualifier to find some placements, to find a chance into the finals at the end of this month and see if they can, take out some of the best teams in the tournament. Today would be the day to do so when you don't have the craziest of the competition available. I mean, we've seen the evolution of Ambergesa, though. They started out as a no-name team, as everyone else has, to be fair,
right.
but they started out as one of those teams that were like, oh, this team looks pretty good, and then they started winning and started competing against top Cougars and beating top Cougars, and have really shown themselves as one of the best teams in the tournament. And they come back today following, I believe they won last week, if not
Yep.
made it to the finals at least. So they're a very, very solid team, of course, and returning champions. They're going to want to try and do what top Cougars did to take the entire month of September and see if they can win it all.
And I think they got a really good chance to do that this week. As you said, this was a team that showed up, that got better and better. They started beating the top Cougar squad. They did that last week in a 3-1 fashion to get that extra little bit of money on top for that first place in qualifier one. And that just feels that much better this week, I think, in the same sense of, you're not seeing the top Cougars players come back. You don't see Kieran, you don't see Smokes or Toxic, any of those players here. I think this is another really good chance for Embergesa to take the crown. But the fact that they've already qualified for the finals at the end of the month, I'm looking at teams like Mighty P making the return, because Mighty P was the team that ultimately would lose to top Cougars in the top 8 last week, and was a very pleasant surprise to watch. So I think this week is going to be a very good opportunity for them if they want to make it into the finals at the end of the month.
Yeah, and like we've been saying, this is the time to shine if you're one of these teams just signing up for this tournament, trying to see how you match up against some of these better teams. You just want to try and, as of right now, avoid Ambergesa. That's your main focus, is not to get them on your side of the bracket. Let's take a look at the schedule. Of course, week 1, qualifier 1 already done. We are on qualifier number 2. If you're in chat or just watching at home and you didn't get to qualify or participate in today's qualifier, you can always do that next week and be able to participate in that, and of course participate in the finals. And well, it looks like we're taking a week off, at least from that schedule. I had to make sure to check my thing. I was like, all right, we're taking a week off, and then the second to last week of September. Oh, that's true. That is a good point.
Yeah.
Way too many Thursdays in a month, but yeah, we'll take next week off. Then we'll see you qualifier number 3 the week after, and then the finals there September 30th.
Yeah, which kind of gives a little bit of a reset potential for some of these other teams to kind of get themselves situated so that they can come back in and feel a little bit better. But as we mentioned last week, Ambergesa feeling a little better about that first place prizing because of not only the fact that they qualify for that prize pool at the end of the month, but they also get the majority of today and that week's prize pool as well. 125 for first place, $50 to the second place team, 175 for every qualifier, and then $500 at the end of the month.
Yeah, it's obviously something to play for, and that's the nice thing about having these weekly qualifiers is you get something each week that you participate in. So if you aren't sure about that, I mean, the reason Ambergesa won last weekend is back today. They don't get the same qualifier spot that whoever came in second or whoever's not qualified already would qualify for the finals in their spot, but they still get a chance to win the money every week. So that if you are one of the best teams in this tournament, you can constantly keep coming back qualifier after qualifier and taking some more money before the finals and seeing how you do, because a lot of the times the teams we see in the finals, or even sometimes we've seen quarterfinals matchups look like a grand final matchup in the absolute finals of the year, of the month. But that being said, it's really nice to have that practice going into the finals. If you do make it that first week or that second week, having that extra couple of games against some of the better teams really helps you kind of realize where you're at and how they might play going into the final week.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see, what the teams are going to do, for whatever approach they're going to try to take into this one. But we talk about, with the teams that did qualify out of last week, of course, Ambergesa got the first place pricing, of course. So top Cougars then also get their way into the finals at the end of the month. The third place actually went to the Rocket League 2's tournament team, which very literal in their name. But Tino, that was Andre on screen, and Jay got their names into the end of the month as well, that beat out Cougars R Us, which was Kieran's squad from last week. So that was kind of surprising out of them.
Yeah.
And a very interesting way to see that the fact that they qualified there and now you don't see Kieran making their return this week is also, I think, a little bit surprising.
It is, and like you said, considering they didn't show up this week and after following not being able to qualify in week one, it is also surprising, especially with a team like that. We know every week they're going to be able to qualify, and obviously following last week, there's some amazing plays as per usual. We have
Oh
our
yeah.
top 10 to look at of last week. Let's go ahead and take a look at that number 10 spot. It's starting off with Gamma and his teammate Misty here. Gamma with some nice bumps, just letting Misty kind of score directly into net here. Really just taking Tater out of the play entirely, leaving it up to Misty to score this third goal of the game.
And we look back to number 9, and we kind of see the same, looking at the same two, Lettuce and Tater on the attack. Gamma's going to get the first rejection. And after that, just completely put it in park. A very quick reversal to take it all the way coast to coast at the end of the field, where Gamma was not only going to get the save, but the goal on top of that. A 4-0 lead there for them. As we said, Mighty P made quite the run last week. Look to continue that consistency this week.
Yeah, and of course, going into number 8, seeing how everything developed from last week, going into a very, very close matchup, 0-0 all the way into the last 2 minutes. Revzi trying to get that ball off the wall, but Luis just dime pieces Jalading here. This is Amber Gay, so the best team in the tournament from last week. I mean, once you miss that first ball, I mean, great secondary save, but I mean, the absolute insane pass from Luis and Jalading to be there with the speed just shows you how incredible these two are and how they have been during this tournament.
Talk about another dynamic duo. We have Smokes and Toxic on the return. Not here this week, but the shot perfectly off the post. And Smokes just in the best position to redirect that back to the upper 90. And you could not ask for a better ricochet, and Smokes just happens to be right place at the right time. Gives them that go-ahead goal early on.
And going into number 6 of last week, Toxic with the ball control and the musty flick of a legend. Just being able to keep that on his card the entire time, still being able to musty flick it over. There's realistically, with that late of a flick, there's no way you can save that. Musty goes crazy.
You thought we were done? Of course not. Smokes and Toxic, they're not here, but they are here in spirit, riddled in this top 10. A nice bump at midfield takes the defense completely out of the equation. As you see, Toxic is just going to go right past where Smokes
Parted the Red Sea.
the way for him. And the go-ahead goal, 2 minutes, 22 seconds to go. Just a thank you very much to your teammate.
And back again with the Toxic reel, highlight reel at this point. Number 4, just kidding, it's Jalading with the goal, top right bins, just being able to slide that past a very, very good team. This is one of those matchups as well from last week. That is a very, very good couple of teams. And Jalading just, I mean, that's almost impossible to save, getting that in the top right corner.
Such a good placement. Of course, we get to see our defending Qualifier 1 champs one more time with a quick little 1-2-1. We've seen the dime piece passing earlier on. They do it again at such a difficult angle. Luis barely gets the edge on. That would a perfect center to Jalading give them that goal.
They just dime piece each other all the time. Going into number 2, we're going to take a look at Kiernan, one of the players we always consistently talk about how good he's been. Speaking of how good he's been, look at the ball control on top of that air dribble to be able to slot that one in, not letting that ball get ever away from his car this entire time, being able to hold on for a flippery set until the very end and slotting that past. It's almost impossible to stop that, especially when it's Kiernan on the ball.
Waited as long as possible, 0 in the boost. We'll talk about waiting as long as possible. 0's on the board, and this little snatch and grab at midfield. Smokes knocks him off the ball, and Toxic is going to be able to help out with that one and take this ball all the way down. Gives them the go-ahead goal, the 3-2 to victory. Of course, they would go on out of this to go to the semifinals. Eventually would drop in the championship game, but just could not cut it any closer right there. Those two just wiped the sweat off the brow. Wasn't even worried about it.
Yeah, an incredible top 10. Of course, if you have any good plays this week, we'll be able to capture them in the future. So make sure to qualify and try and get some good plays going on stream. I mean, that's always nice to get your highlight reel up a little bit. But make sure to hashtag ATLOpen and IATLGG on Twitter. Join the conversation. Also follow Skillshot Media and also follow me, Trevor, on the social medias as well. I'm Pibcast. He is Trevor Confused Caribou McNeil over there.
That's
and
way too long of a username.
Yeah, you're right. Twitter doesn't have that much space. It's just Confused Caribou on Twitter if you want to follow Trevor. But we're going into our first game here shortly. A couple of teams that it looked like, at least record-wise, don't have the greatest of starts so far in on CMG. You have 0-1 for Bex and Bex, and Timsco and Quizzy have 1-5 records. So they want to try and rebound this week going into this first matchup. We're already seeing a couple games finish, of course, going from round 2. We have because we have 41 teams, it looks like, that 32 bracket gets kind of awkwardly reset a little
Yeah.
bit. So a couple teams have to play in round one to try and get to round two, and it becomes a little awkward, but we'll get to round two and round three shortly.
Yeah, and one of those, of course, being Ambergesa, just to make it that much more interesting for them, that
Yeah.
they have to make the long run all the way to the finals if they want to. But talk about kind of what we did last week and the keys to victory as to how these players can expect to get out of their matchups, favorably speaking, is really just coming out of the gate firing. Like you have to be able to set the pacing and the tempo of the game and just kind of make sure you're playing in your comfort zone. You don't want to get knocked out of that area because if you let the other team just dictate the tempo of the game, then you are just completely out of your element. You don't stand much of a chance. It's very easy to get flustered and tilted. And at that point, especially when it's just a best of three, you drop a single game, you're all of a sudden back against the wall. It's that much more to the mental tilt. So just make sure that you're trying to play comfort and play your game and don't necessarily worry too much about what the other teams are trying to do.
Yeah, and that being said, look at the ways that you can tilt the other team in that same sense.
Right.
Going for demos, going for good bumps, and trying to take them off their game. Like you're saying, you want to try and play your game. So if that includes, we saw in the highlight reel in the top 10, quite a few bumps that led to goals and goal scoring opportunities. So that just kind of shows you the strength of that and being able to have that good communication with your teammate to be able to take out that goalie player and still have your teammate score. That's how a lot of these teams tend to score, and how just teams in general tend to score in the higher ranks. It's a lot easier once you take that player out of the situation, kind of leave your teammate to a one-on-one, or obviously 1-on-0 if you take the goalie out. So it's definitely some good pacing if you want to get that key to victory, of course. And another one I always talk about is the boost control. In 2v2s, less so as important as 3v3s, but it's still really important,
Right.
especially if you're constantly on the offense or on the offensive side. You want to try and boost starve them as much as you can, because eventually they won't be able to stop your aerial goals or your aerial shots because they just don't have enough boost.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see, which teams are really going to be able to step up and capitalize on that because we have seen some teams where they just have spent far too much time in their defensive zone. The heat map would put it all the way in their defensive zone all the time. And it's just never a place you want to be because you feel like there's no escape. You can't really find an efficient relief valve. And as soon as you do, well, it's just a clearance out, and the other team's just going to go pick up the midfield and their back boost. And then you're not going to have anything but the scraps left over. And on the little individual pads. So like there's not a lot that you really can do. And it's very difficult to transition out of that situation. So just making sure that you don't get caught in a trap like that and just try to find a way out of it efficiently because we've seen teams that will just do a Hail Mary clear and hope that something happens, hope that it works. And every once in a while it does. You get a clearance off where it's on target and you get a goal scored by some happenstance, but you just can't rely on that sort of blind luck.
Yeah, and obviously in 2v2s, you're not having to anchor as that as that third player, that player that's kind of waiting in midfield or back towards your side of the field. It's a lot easier to score counterattacking opportunities sometimes, and we saw that a couple of times in the top 10 as well, where it's a mistake from the offensive side, or it goes off the crossbar, and suddenly they're not able to recover as quickly, and you just send it downfield for a goal, and that happens quite often. So you do have to make sure your rotations are on point if you're trying to have a key to victory. That is one of the most important, is just have good rotations, constantly being able
True.
to follow up your teammates' shots or follow up your teammates' passes, as well as soon as you make that pass or that shot, you are back on rotation, trying to cover your side of the field, because it happens a lot more than you think that you just get the ball sent down the field and get scored on every time. And a lot of kickoff goals we've seen in the past couple
Yeah.
of weeks. So that's surprising to me. But if you know how to do really good kickoffs, it's one of the best ways to beat some of the top teams.
Yeah, and I'm looking to see, kind of the same semblance of, come out of the gate firing, like just try to get something very soon off of the kickoff if you can, because it's just that much more advantageous to you. But at the same point, what can players do over those long dry spells where the games just really kind of hit the brick wall and nothing happens? It's just a lot of back and forth. And how are you going to be able to break out of that? Because it's something that's very easy to get comfortable in, where it's just a simple game of playing onesie twosies and nothing's going to happen after that. But it's just a matter of not only with the good rotations like you were talking about, but making sure that you don't make any overcommitments. You don't double commit to a ball out of the corner. We've seen even some of our best players with it. Smokes, Toxic, and Kieran. I mean, we've seen those players
Yeah.
hard commit to a ball in the corner and left the net wide open. And it's like those are good players making these dumb mistakes. So it's susceptible to anybody. You just got to make sure that dot your T's, cross your I's, and don't mess up.
Yeah, exactly. Don't mess up on dotting your T's and crossing your I's. But speaking of which, we are trying to get into a lobby shortly. As of right now, we're having a little bit of complication, so we are going to try and get you a game as soon as possible. We're going to go to a quick break, though. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back with some Rocket League action.
Select.
Welcome back, everybody, to the qualifier number 2. We are swiftly trying to get into our round 2 matchup. Of course, my name Troy, Pib, Cast, Welling, next to me, Trevor, Confused, Caribou, McNeil. Excited as ever for football and Rocket League today, of course. As any football fans, let us know who you think is going to win today, and any Rocket League fans out there, let us know who's going to think is going to take the tournament today. I mean, we have some new names, we have some new fans in chat, I'm sure. And we have Amber Gase, the returning champion, as your returning favorites as of now. So everything is randomly seeded though on CMG. So Amber Gayson might have won, but they're 37th seed in the tournament. So that's why you see them have to play that first matchup and not get that first round bye. But hey, I mean, they got to work as much as everybody else does to get to the championship today.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to earn that spot, right? But there's also just that inherent expectation that they're gonna be there. There's no reason to think that they shouldn't be in a position to make it into the finals, and we're gonna be expecting to see them make a decent run in this one, unless there is some surprising factor in this one. Like I think there's just a wholehearted full expectation of look from past experiences and from results. Ambergesa probably has a really good chance of winning this tournament. And not only that, but the Buccaneers also have a really good chance of beating the Cowboys. Like I don't make the rules, but I just look at trends and I say, okay, this is probably what's going to happen. And so I'm waiting for someone to surprise me and prove me wrong. Like I don't get me wrong, but I think that based off of what we're seeing here, it's probably going to be expected that Amber Gesa, if they don't make it, is the team that beats them is probably going to win.
Yeah, it's really easy to make predictions when you just say, "Hey, the Super Bowl team last year that won will probably win the Week 1 matchup, and the team that won last week's matchup in Rocket League is probably going to win this week." Yeah, it's really good predictions by Trevor McNeil. If you want more of those, like I said, Confused
Yeah,
Caribou on Twitter, just chocked full of them, and it's really just great content over
it's
there.
not great for betting, but
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's not. You just go with the. You know what? This
facts is
looks good.
facts.
I'm here for the Dak attack, though. I want the Cowboys to win. But in other news, we're still trying to get our round two matchup going, and just seeing it. There are a couple teams already round three: G4KX and Best Lark. Two of your teams that have advanced already. Ember Gates is still struggling with their first round matchup. And something interesting about last month's finals that I was thinking about recently is that Ember Gesa and like four other teams didn't show up for the finals. Not last month. I think it's July's finals, and it was just like there's two teams that got to play for the top spot, and I was like, you guys just have to show up. Just show up to the
Yeah.
finals. If you qualify, you literally just have to show up, and you have a 50% chance of making good money. It's that easy. I mean, the games aren't that easy, but once you're there, then you have a good
Right.
chance. And I'll take a 50-50.
That's like just good recommendations of who's probably going to win. Just I mean, if you just show up, then it's easy. Duh, forehead. Like how difficult could it be to just try to be there for a thing that you qualified for? I don't know, but looking to see what we're going to get out of this one. Of course, as we talked about, with a awkward number, like it's just a
Yeah,
weird number. 41 amount of teams on there. There is a whole slew of buys in the round one. I think there was 3 or 4 round one matchups that actually did happen, including the one Imbragesa was
yeah.
in. But outside of that, there's pretty much everything else is just round two. And there's already seeing some teams that have played their round two matchup and advanced into round three. There's only 2 of them there so far. But I think that as soon as this does get set up, it's going to start to boil down very quickly. And we're going to see these teams decide how far they're going to go, how well they're going to play, because it's going to water down very quick. But I still am going to tell and recommend everyone to keep an eye on Mighty P, because what they did last week
Yeah.
was borderline great. And I think that they're, with the lack of teams signing up this week that are typically are contenders in the championships, them not being here gives a real opportunity for a team like Mighty P.
Yeah, and as long as they avoid out, I think they're directly on the side of Ambergesa from what I'm seeing, at least on the bracket. So that is the one rough thing. If you're rooting for them as a team to try and take out the tournament, you have to just, it's all about the random seeding. You have to just try and avoid the best teams sometimes. And that is the current situation. But it looks like we are getting into our matchup shortly, so you can not be tired of us two on the camera so much. And Ferox or Fur Zero X versus Pies. Both have a decent record. I mean, on the other side, 3-6 for Pies. They are trying to get some redemption shot, I believe, as well. But we already have a 1-0 start for Ferox there in round two matchup, of course. And another round two matchup already done. Serendipity advances, which is a wonderful name, advances themselves into round three. So a couple teams are waiting in round three already. But this is going to be a round two matchup. Excited to get some Rocket League underway. It looks like it'll be some NA teams. And surprisingly, for a I guess we could consider NA focused tournament. I mean, you still have NA and EU, but surprisingly, all the EU teams just keep showing up week after week and dominating. So I'd like a little bit of NA pride, at least a speck of NA
Yeah.
pride that there's a good NA team out there, because even we're sending pro players at some of these guys on Top Cougars and Amber Gay, so we still can't make it.
Yeah, it's kind of disheartening a little bit to watch that happen, and it's like it almost feels like it doesn't matter what title we're playing as North Americans. We can't win, and it
Shame.
sucks. But I just would love to see it finally happen sometime. Like I just need that the home team pride just to swing in and steal all the glory. And it's like, "Yeah, finally, USA will start the chance, and it's going to be the greatest thing ever. But we're still waiting on that opportunity. So
Yeah.
somebody please Nope.
Anybody out there, please give us a speck of hope. Like we were talking about in previous tournaments, we've had professional players from Ghost Gaming, even the duo of the 3 people on Ghost Gaming play in a tournament and still not make it into the finals. So yeah, we got something to back up here as far as the NA talent pool goes. I mean, we know those guys are insane. You know, could have just been off day. Could have just been if they face top Cougars. Sometimes they're just insane. You can't really do much against them, and they just will dominate you at every part of the field, and that it just happens like that sometimes. Maybe what we'll see tonight in the Thursday night football game. But as of now, we are just awaiting this matchup as per usual, and now is when as usual, I go to Sharks with Lasers and start to I start to talk about what Sharks with Lasers can endure. I mean, Sharks are already terrifying, right? So you go in the water. I mean, at that point, I'm nowhere near you can take a shark. What kind of shark you talking? What kind of shark you talking right now? Like a lemon shark, like a little black tip 2-foot shark in the reef. Any shark.
Easy. Any shark.
Yeah, I believe you.
Maybe
yeah,
not
I think you got that. Yeah. Oh, suddenly you're backpedaling a little bit.
That's not the only exception I'm going to make. It's probably the great white because they're great, and it's not going to happen. Like that thing, his mouth alone is like the size of me. But
yeah, I don't think people realize how big their mouths. I was trying to like figure out the plural there. I was like mouths. How big their mouths are. Like realistically, they're like 3 feet wide. That is massive. Large. Like they are big animals. It's terrifying. The ocean scares me. With like the best intent possible. That like I'm really intrigued at what's in the ocean, but like I would never. You'll never catch me like free diving with sharks or trying to fight one in Trevor's case. That's not that I'm safe looking from afar. Yeah, I do it just to say I do it, right?
Yeah.
Other sharks that are kind of scared though, like the mako sharks, like goes like 45 miles an hour attacking its prey. You can't even see that thing in the dark, and then suddenly you are jumping in the air out of an attack. And then like the bull shark's really aggressive, so that's scary. Tiger sharks don't like people. There's a lot.
I'm gonna take this conversation to the land-based terrifying animal kingdom.
Okay.
So a horse and a bear can run roughly the same speed. And so I'm more so upset that we decided to tame horses and ride them instead of riding bears, because that'd be so much cooler.
That's true.
But like a bear can run like 30 miles an hour, and some of the fastest NFL players can run 22, 23. So like even like Tyreek Hill could not outrun a bear, and that is nothing that I ever would want to.
Thinking about that, it's terrifying because that guy is literally conditioned to be fast, and bears are not. Bears are not conditioned to be fast. They're conditioned to be fat and hibernate in the winter, and that is their job. But yeah, that's terrifying. Also, there's this argument. It's like, what do you think will win, a bear or an orangutan or like a monkey, like a gorilla? I think it was. And people were saying the monkey, and I'm just like, how do you think a gorilla is going to beat a bear? Like, I mean, to be fair, they're kind of like terrifying. Like they can go in a frenzy, and they are huge. Yeah, you're right. They go off and they go crazy. But realistically, like bears are crazy. Like they're massive, and like you said, they're fast. They do so much damage. It's too scary for me, but we got Rocket League today, I think.
Yeah, it's impressive how fast we just derailed all of that. But yeah, Rocket League.
Yeah. You're welcome for that, everybody in chat, as you didn't have to endure a boring pause, at least in the mix. But we are actually getting into a game 2 here shortly. Another advancement, Mighty P goes to the 3rd round, as well as the Dragon. So a couple teams making it already. Ambergesa, of course, wins their first matchup. And ladies and gentlemen, we have Rocket League going for you already. Let's see how these teams are going to start up. Wardy here on the blue side, going to try and figure out what the plan of attack here is. I already have a bad feeling about this game. I'm not going to say anything, but I already have a feeling that the skill level is going to be a problem here for one of these teams.
Yeah, just it's 11 seconds in, so I'm not going to give a full commitment to a judgment just yet. But the fact that you see an 11-second goal is just bodes well for Fearox and what they're going to do on this. And Psycho's had pretty good follow-up right there, but we'll just be able to see what is going to happen. Attempted pass to the side. This is going to go a little bit wide. Psycho's there to catch and just send it back around. A lot of cat and mouse and a lot of chasing this one, but Very interesting to see if there's going to be any follows. Psychos with the shot on is a little bit wide, and they can't quite get back around it, put it on target. But I feel like this is going to be a thing that you're going to see a lot of time spent on this side of the field, and Psycho's going to put the second one in. 4:19 left in the game.
And yeah, it's looks like Pice might be on the struggle bus here to try and figure out this game. I mean, listen, as soon as you see the antennas or the flags come out or the toppers, most of the time, besides the one time we saw Smokes copying one of the gentleman players using that tuxedo outfit, it's kind of an indication because a lot of good Rocket League players, a lot of high-ranked Rocket League players don't go with anything that kind of blocks their air dribbles. And with a flag and a topper, it gets in the way of everything you're trying to do when you're trying to keep control of the ball and your vision gets kind of flustered. And I can't see anything anyways, so it's really difficult for me in general. But that's another goal. This is gonna have to be, we're gonna have to go back to the derailing here, I think, sooner than later, about how Gorillas and Bears would fight, because this one might just be a wreck.
Yeah, 1:10 and 3 goals up on the board, and if they keep this pace up, yeah, it will certainly be worse for wear on the other side. But we'll have to see what pace can do to try to increase their pace on the other side. Just watch if there's going to be a way to get out of this angle. But you see, like, that's right there, just one of those small mistakes where you see both of the players commit for the ball going towards the corner. It's just unnecessary because you can't rely on that. You can't have that as a thing that happens on your team, because then you get taken out of the image completely on the other side. They're caught chasing. They don't have any boost to get there. And Psychos just has to ride the wall and nudge this one in.
Yeah, simple as that. You're just playing basic Rocket League from here on out. I mean, this is the fun part of the game where you get to start styling a little bit, start to maybe get yourself into Rule 1. And the crazy part is, some people that are new to Rocket League that, might have gotten to Epic Games when it's free to play or are just new in general, never knew what Rule 1 was. And that's something you got to read in the Rocket League handbook. If you're going to play this game, make sure you know what Rule 1 is, because it'll get you yelled at monstrally for not being able to commit. Rule 1, of course, if you don't know, if you get stuck like head to head against an opposing player, you cannot move. You both just have to keep running into each other until someone disbands you. There's a goal. You cannot move. It's illegal. It's Rocket League playbook. You can't change it. It's what it is.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen very often in a lot of the events that we've done here. I mean, we've seen a small few that we've been able to catch, but doesn't see it come through too often in this one. And I think it would make it significantly more interesting just knowing that the skill level of some of the 1v1 players that we have, like we've seen Kieran, we've seen Rezi, Louis P, some of the best 1v1 players that we have. So if you get a Rule 1 situation, then you're going to be in that one. But 6th goal gets put up here. Psycho is just good center coming around from the corner. Let Psychos get that shot on, give them their 6th. So this is just looking like Pharaoh just comfortably cruising to a game victory in this one.
Yeah, and I was looking at the bracket. Either Amber Gesa, if they win their game, faces Mighty P, or is in like the game right above them. So it's it could be one of your good matchups already early in that case if Amber Gesa makes her way through. I say that very non-hesitantly. Like, I'm pretty confident they'll make their way from the 2nd round into the 3rd. Deer Porcupine, another team that has advanced themselves from round 2 to round 3. We do have one matchup already sitting in round 3. That's G4KX versus Z Dragons. Looking at their overall record, 2-5 for G4KX and 2-1 for Z Dragons. So Z Dragons probably favored in that side of the matchup. But of course, you just want to be on the bottom half of this bracket in general. Avoid out on Mighty P and Amber Gesa, and you probably have a pretty good time at trying to get yourselves to the finals. I've lost track of this game. I didn't even know when the last 6 goals have been scored, to be honest. It's just kind of trickling in. And Psychos tries to block his own teammate's goal, and now it's 8-0. Sometimes you just got to say, let's go next, and this might be one of those times.
Yeah, and I've tried to do the same thing you were, look at the bracket and track out who goes where, because it's very interesting, not only looking at where Amber Gesa is, and as well as with Mighty P, but also Stevzy, the team combined of Stealth and Revzy. That's going to be a very good one to watch as well. And they're going to go, I think, they're going to go 1 up from there. So actually, I think
Oh,
They're going to
man.
face off against the winner of Ambergesa. So Ambergesa and Stevzy could potentially have a round 3 matchup, which
Oh, yeah.
arguably is the best two teams here in this one.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, actually. I didn't even realize that they were, obviously, I completely marked them down earlier on, said how good of a team they were, and then forgot to look at where they were in the bracket. But yeah, going into an immediate matchup, I mean, we talked about this earlier on when we were talking about how games in the quarterfinals look like grand finals sometimes. That's one of those games that could turn out to be a situation like that, as you have a very, very good couple of teams. Just that random seeding puts them on the same side of the bracket. You see some freestyling coming in from Wardy here and Psychos, and gets it back in somehow off the redirect, off the post, makes it to 9-0 scoreline. Resident Sleeper, this one is over.
Well, it's not, because there's still 1 minute and 12 seconds left.
Right, true. It's doable, maybe. Can you score 9 goals? Yeah, you realistically could.
Yeah, you could. By literal definition, it's not over. By looking at the scoreboard, like, there's minimal chance or expectation of a comeback to happen, and if it does, it's the most incredible comeback Rocket League has ever seen in the history of Dota. I mean, like, that's just not expected. So for the time being, the last 50 seconds, as we mentioned, talk about what the rest of the bracket's shaping up to be, with the other 40 some odd teams here down to 30 some odd by now. Just interested to see, and also just kind of showcases the specialty of the community open, is the sense that you do get the players like Jala Ding, Louis P, and Kieran, Stealthy, Smokes, Toxic. Like, you get those players that are absurdly talented, absurdly good. But then you just get literally anybody else too, because you literally can sign up. It does not matter your experience, your rank, anything of that matter, and just to get the experience of playing in a professional sense and playing in a professional tournament realm. And I think it's a good experience to have, and it's at least lets you kind of get an idea of what you do well, what you don't do well.
Hit it with the nice little pass at the end, get that double-digit score line. Great pass, obviously, from Psychos to Wardy here to be able to connect. And that's some good hope going into the rest of the tournament. We always talk about these games, like you said, it's any ranks kind of team. So, you have the SSL teams, you have professional teams even, and then sometimes you have new players in lower ranks, just because it is a free enter tournament, and you got to test your luck sometimes. You got to see if you can handle the speed and the pace of some of these better teams, and which, in that case, not game one. They have second game, and we'll see if they can rebound in that one. But yeah, it is a lot of it's a difficult, if you're not quote unquote, really good at Rocket League, just aerialing is really difficult in this game. Just hitting the ball is difficult in this game sometimes. True. And in that case, when you have people that are aerialing and doing much faster jumps and speed, it's very impossible if you're not able to match that pace. Let's go and take a look at the replays of game number one, though, powered by the Microsoft ATL, of course, and see just a highlight reel of Ferox here as they score their 10 goals and didn't have much contention. I don't even know if they got a shot in on the other side, but nonetheless, game two, you fix it, you take it to game three, you win the series.
Yeah, it's just a thing of, watching to see what can happen, because as we talked about, this is a team that just unfortunately got pinned, backs against the wall. They were stuck in the defensive zone, boost starved the entire time. They just could not find an angle out. There was a lot of defensive little miscues and miscalculations where they would constantly be running into each other, just not quite clear on the communication as to who's going to go for the ball and who's going to stay home. So there's small things to pick up on, small things to adjust going into game number two. But I think the most important thing is just to get your bearings out of your defensive zone, because I don't know, without looking at the scoreboard, if they did have a shot on goal because of just how much time was spent over on this side. I mean, Psychos and Wardy were doing everything to keep them in their box.
Yeah, and I mean, to finish off with a goal like that, it's pretty good news. They looked really good. So I mean, that's at least some good news going into this one as we start game number two here. Being able to connect like that doesn't matter what the ranks of the other team is. Doesn't matter how the pace of the game is, as long as you can keep your communication up. This is basically like a freestyle realm now, to where you can practice whatever you've been wanting to practice, but like in a real-time scenario in a game. So it's some nice. Obviously, you want to start off with a lead at least, so you'll probably see Ferox try and get their way over to the first goal of the game here and make them the winners of game number two. Wardy just dribbling himself at that point, trying to get himself down the field. could not exactly get that towards net as he stumbled a little bit, I guess you could say, on his way towards the goal. But pass goes way too far from Psycho's, not going to be able to connect immediately. 1 minute in, Pi's already playing much better defense, at least in game one. They haven't been scored on 4 times in a minute yet, so looking better. And good challenge there, at least on the Psychos. Gets the ball off of him. And this is where they just get jumped right over. Wardy just kind of b-hops over them. Gets that one off the bar. Saved initially, but not going to be saved out of the net entirely. That's the first goal going to Rocks here.
Finally do get that first one. Just had to flirt with the line there a little bit. Almost got it pushed out, but not enough behind it to be able to clear that out. Yes, the first goal, a minute 8 seconds into the game is besides alive, but it's still a lot. Like, just from what happened in game number 1, like finally getting it on this side, that's technically shot credited. So the fact that they're on the other side of the field, they're starting to get something going. But I respect what Ferox are trying to do. They're trying to go for these passing plays, trying to get the setups, trying to get the double taps. And, the double tap doesn't go through, but you still have it laid up and ready for your teammate to come back on the follow, get the shot on, and get another goal scored.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It's nice to see them trying to go for these passing plays because at this point they know they're going to win this series, but they want to try and get some good goals in, try and see if they have it themselves, if they can get the communication with each other to get that connection towards that midfield, towards the attacking side. And so far, we've seen them just barely miss a couple and just barely hit a couple at the same mark. So if they can keep that consistency going forward, they should be able to look pretty nice going into round number 3 against some of the better teams in the tournament. Like you talking about, most of them on the same side of the bracket. 2 of them probably going to be in the same matchup there in round number 3 right before the quarterfinals. So there is a lot on the line for those teams there, and there's even more on the line for the teams that we haven't seen before that are going into this 3rd round and potentially the quarterfinals. Great passing play here, great shot, almost saved, but nicely done from Wardy and Psychos as the 2 players in net just kind of have to look at that one go past them.
Yeah, just unfortunate again, just trying to watch and read out of the back of the net. Ragnar couldn't even get out in time. And by that point, your teammate's coming across from the top. So even if you do try to commit to that, I mean, it's going to be a very difficult commit to save anyways. But you don't want to disrupt what your teammate does. But another just instance of you see the 2 teammates quite literally running into each other, a head-on collision on the other side of the field. And they're fortunate that Wardy and Psychos didn't get a goal out of this one, and they're able to get back on the defense. But still, it's one of those minor things you look at and you see in the VOD reviews, and it's like, okay, obviously there's something going on here that we need to improve, we need to work on. And I think just the communication a little bit is probably the most important thing, because if you're not communicating, you don't have the good synergy with your +1 in an event like this, you can't ever expect to go as far as the teams that we have as our front runners.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be on top of it. We've already seen the kind of communication and coordination. Someone like Top Cougars, who isn't here, but the way they play and the way they dominate the field, you have to be on top of it at all times and be able to challenge them. I feel like that's the most important thing. Constantly challenge them. Don't let them even create those passing plays in the first place. As soon as you're able to challenge that in midfield or before they even get there, suddenly you have a much better chance for a counterattack potentially, and your chances go up much higher in the game percentage to try and win. As we see a 4-0 lead with 2 minutes left in this one. Ferox guaranteeing themselves. Well, not guaranteed yet, as you would say, but at this point, looking pretty good to guarantee themselves to round 3. Wardy tries to go for a potential flip reset, doesn't find it. Psycho's just going to slot in a 5th goal. And see how the bracket starts to develop. Like you said, a lot of the top teams, Ambergesa and potentially Stevzy, going to find each other in round 3, which means the matchup right below them is Mighty P, I think, or actually Mighty P might be on the different side of the bracket entirely. Yeah, Mighty P is on the other side of the bracket, so that's good news for Mighty P, is that they avoid out on either one of those teams, which obviously one of them has to go through, and that's kind of the end of that list of teams that we know are good. So from that point on, it's like, what kind of underdog teams or teams that we haven't seen before can shine to try and show us what's going to happen in the rest of this tournament.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to see, what teams are going to, really going to step up in this one, because just watching what's going to happen, I mean, we already know with those 2 or 3 that they're going to do a decent run, but there's just, again, so many open opportunities for so many other teams as to who's going to step up. And of course, there's also the point of contention that somebody may have had a significantly easier route through the bracket, and then they look good on paper, but then by the time they get up against a quote-unquote good opponent, then it completely blows them out of the water, and you're like, well, what? How did you get here? What happened? Did you just fall off in this game, or was it just the luck of the draw with your matchup? So it's one of those things that you really get to see people test their mettle and see if they really are worth the positioning they're in. And we see the first goal scored. Okay.
Brazil 7-1, baby. It's time. As the first goal comes in from the kickoff, it gets tapped in by Wardy right there. But you aren't going to see a second game shutout. And looks like we have our third matchup queued and ready, at least, on the next one, which is going to be Best Lark, who's been waiting there. I think they're the very first team in round 3, so they've been waiting quite a bit to get their matchup to go ahead. And then Rura from Missouri, I believe, is the second team they're going to be facing there in round number 3, and that's going to be our first round 3 matchup right after this one. Nice little dribble there from Wardy. Gets him an 8th goal. Call him Rick and Wardy. Rick, okay, I'm not gonna do a Rick and Morty TikTok on you because you probably don't even understand the reference.
What's a TikTok?
That's what I thought. You are old. Bring back Vine.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
No, I was on that wavelength
to be funny.
That's true. You didn't have an entire like 3-minute span. I also think Vine was good because no one has a high attention span. I feel like we all just kind of like goes off a little bit as soon as the video starts to like become a little stale. So that's why Vine was so good. It's also impressed me about Viners so much is how much content they can fit into like 6 seconds. That's a skill.
Yep. Just the Vine generation was better. That's it. That's all I gotta say about that.
I thought the same thing. Then I installed TikTok. I gave it a chance. And there's a lot of good stuff. There's learning. Like I've learned a lot from TikTok. There's some really good TikToks. There's some funny TikToks. I mean, that's why I like TikTok. It's kind of like an everything kind of platform. You have a bunch of things that you can see on TikTok, and I think the best thing is that you can curate it to kind of your own liking, your For You page, that is. So I think it's nice to have those kind of options. But I will forever be a Vine #1, TikTok kind of #2 guy. But I do love TikTok. So shouts out to TikTok. Sponsor us if you're here, I guess. Same with Vine. I know you're dead, but we miss you. Please come home with the milk.
Oh, and we got 10 goals again.
All right, double digits.
All right.
No shutout, double digits. And game number 2 is done and dusted. Out of a shocking turn of events, Ferox wins the second game, 10-1. After winning 10-0 in the first one. So they slipped a little bit in that second game. They got to be careful going into the later parts of the tournament. You can't let up that many goals in the second game, especially when you're up a game. You want to slack off a little bit. I understand that, but to leave an entire goal in that second one, it's a little sloppy. Fix it for game 3. Otherwise, you're going to the tournament. I'm gonna keep it real.
It's just one of those things that you can't really be caught being complacent whatsoever. Got zeros, play like every game is the championship. We'll take a look at the replays here from game number 2 and what happened there. Ferox obviously did very well. We got distracted halfway through, but just kind of the expectations that Psychos and Wardy were just doing enough to keep the pressure on their offensive side. They didn't really have a lot to worry about here in this one, and they were able to maneuver around the defense from Leard and Ragnar relatively simply.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot they could do in situation. We did see them get a couple shots, at least in game number 2, so they're looking better, looking on the up. But this kind of looked like teaching my brother-in-law how to play Rocket League. I'm not going to lie to you. It looked like I was on the other side of the ball, just absolutely dominating him, giving him no chance. And sometimes that's just how it got to be. You have to teach. The best way to teach is to just throw him right into the thick of it. And that was the way that Ferox did in both of these games, scoring 10 goals in each game.
Yeah.
It's a nice little goal average, though. And obviously, they had a couple of nice shots. You saw the flip reset in the end of game number 2. You saw some good passing plays at the end of game number 1, like that one. And they looked solid. They have some really good plays. But the hardest thing to do is not get complacent going into your next round. We've talked about it repeatedly in a matchup like this where it is a bit easier going into the rest of the tournament. You can't get complacent because suddenly you start the first game against a team like Ambergesa and they off of kickoff score on you because of how fast they are, and you're like, okay, yeah, I wasn't ready for this. Let's reset. Let's go next. These guys are kind of good.
And sometimes you think that, or it's like, okay, well, no, wait, was that a fluke? Like, did they just happen to score just by pure luck in the first 6 seconds? And then they do it again. You're like, oh no. Well, this might be a problem for us. Yeah, might be a little out of our weight class here on this one, but it's kind of what an expectation of this one. Sick little 360 from Wardy right there to be able to get that nose on and get that shot. But excited to see what they're going to do to continue to, see how well they do stack up against the competition, because I don't think that was quite a fair judgment of this one. But you talk about our next matchup there, Best Lock and Rura from Missouri, and that is interesting username as well. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like the Missouri of like Missouri and how them old folks say it down south.
Oh, like Missouri.
Yeah.
I don't
Missouri.
know either. I don't understand the name. Hopefully one of the players in chat can let us know, trying to give us some backstory here. But Best Lark, yeah, like I said, a round 3 matchup. Best Lark's been waiting for quite a long time to try and find an opponent. So it's nice they're finally in this situation. They have a chance to advance themselves into the quarterfinals. And speaking of the quarterfinals, one team has already advanced themselves there. That's Z Dragons, who I said probably had that was the first matchup we had in round 3. I said record-wise, they had the potential to move on, and they have done so far. So nice on them. And Ambergesa and Stevzy is going to be your round 3 matchup as well. So both them advancing into round 3. That's going to probably be, I would at this point say, the game of the tournament, if not the grand finals, of course. But we're starting off hot already. A goal to go in here from Badino. And it's starting off hot in game number 1.
Yeah, nice little just boost out of the corner just to be able to play it off the wall, sit it up, and Badino's there on the midfield push to get the read, get the shot on, get the first goal. Didn't take a whole lot of time. Now we'll see if they can continue that on, or if it's just going to be like we were talking about on the other side. Okay, they just scored in 9 seconds. Is that a skill disparity, or was that a fluke? And hopefully you should find out sooner rather than later for the rural squad if they are going to be able to get a quick rebound, quick answer back.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of that could have just been off a kickoff, kind of quick, weren't ready for that immediate pace. But I'm seeing good aerials from both teams so far, so that gives me a little bit of hope here. Going to this one, a little bit awkward from Kise here, trying to redirect himself back towards the ball. Trust me, I've done that so many times where I've kind of messed up in my initial jump, and that's a double commit from the orange team from Rura, so it could be a wide open net here to slot that one in from Badino, and he finds it. And that's the issue with double committing on offense. It was a decent touch, but trying to go for the challenge, didn't get there fast enough, leads to a 2-0 start.
Yeah, just almost got there in time, but yeah, Badino just far enough ahead of the play that was able to get that one. So send up 2-0 before we hit that 1 minute mark, and gonna see if they can find an answer. Get one off of the kickoff. It's not gonna go through. Adam will get sent aside, but I think there's a good amount of time that we see the Best Lark squad spending on this side of the field. Just they're doing a decent work to put Rura on their heels, really, and kind of forcing them to make their plays and forcing them to get out of their defensive zone to find something in transition. And they've had good looks, they've had good efforts to stop the pressure from Best Lark, but they just haven't quite got that final execution to get on the board.
And with a 2-goal start, looking to try and just keep that momentum going into the end of this first game. And so far, they've looked pretty nice in doing so. You see no boost from either of the orange players here, I believe. So if they get stuck on this side of the field, there's no way they can get back on the counterattack. I believe he got that midfield boost. Good challenge to stop Benino from going anywhere right there initially. And good challenge once again. 0 boost for the player going back. And I believe we got a lot of Italian players. From what I can see in the chat from that clan tag I saw right there, that group tag, a huge shot being saved right there from Adam. But a lot of Italian love in the chat, so I'm trying to remember all of the Italian I should have learned in the last couple of semesters I just took of Italian. I can't even remember how to say hello. I guess it's ciao. Ciao, all the Italian people out there. I am Italian and trying to learn Italian. And listen, It's not going well, but it's a lovely language.
I took about 2 weeks of it, and that was the beginning and end of my Italian course. That was
That's all you need.
yeah,
You just need to.
yeah.
You need the basics. You need the basics. You just need to know, like, I guess if you go to Italy, you probably should know a little bit more than the basics. That might be a goal, though. Nice little bump from Kise there to be able to get himself an advancement towards the net. He stole this boost. Boost control is a plus, and then gets a nice little touch here to get that right past the opposing defender, which was Byron Design, I believe, on this team. His name in game is that name, but his name on TMG, I'm gonna call him Byron at this point out, just because it's easier, and I'm kind of stupid. So in both cases, helps me out a little bit. And we see a nice challenge there going off the cross or off the post a little bit. We're seeing some good chances now from Rua from Missouri trying to get themselves back into this game. They are only down 1 goal with plenty of time left on the clock as well.
Yeah, 2 minutes is so much time in Rocket League to be able to just find anything, and the amount of time again that they've been able to kind of get this outlet, get the relief valve, and spend some time out of their defensive zone is reassuring for them and what they can do to try to get this equalizer goal. You know, now you look at it back to that initial goal that was scored 9 seconds in, and you know they've held it to this stalemate. And this is, you know, a point that we were talking about pre-show is okay in these long dry spells. You know, how do you break out of that? How do you make the difference? To be able to get the goal scored, to be able to either take the lead, get the goal back, something of that nature. And this is kind of where you get to see a team's true colors on their playmaking abilities.
And with a minute left, this could be the potential time to bring out those playmaking abilities. Trying to showcase your skills. Try, especially if you're on the team from Missouri's side, that's not what you want to see, though. Double commit on offense, not a whole lot of boost to get back, but looks like got back just in time to stop the initial attack here, and Badino is going to make his way backward as well. Try and just challenge himself, it looks like, at midfield for the ball there. As we see a potential shot here, but a good challenge from Adam. Gets the initial one off point, but Adam misses a second chance in a wide open net, and it goes wide. That could have been the chance for Missouri there to get back into this one. That's a pretty brutal miss. It gets that one past net with only 25 seconds left.
Had a good steal and a good chance to double commit in the air, though. Here's their opportunity again. All they have to do is get it on target. The defense, Padino gets back, though, and the challenge there will keep it out in play for the time being. But they had 2 golden opportunities for Aurora in the last few seconds to be able to get it. Now with 5 seconds left here, a redirect. The ball's still on the ground, though. Zeros, and that's it. They just could not get what they needed at the end right there. They got so close 3 times, and they just could not just break through that. And that's what we talk about. That was the chance for teams to show their playmaking abilities. They had every opportunity. They just didn't have the ability.
And this was the move that made LeBron cry. All right, we're going to go to replays of game number 1 here and see how exactly all that happened. 2-1 finish to that one was very, very close. Do you even know that reference that I'm making? That It's a TikTok. Of course you don't. Of course you don't know what that reference is. It was a 2-0 start, though, for the Italian team over here for Badino and Byron on Best to Lark. And a very quick comeback almost ensued. Kise had a couple of great chances, but just going off the post a few times. And then obviously in the last 30 seconds, a lot of hecticness. Is that a word? A lot of hectic things happening in the last 30 seconds.
You're doing great.
They almost scored a second goal. They almost tied it up to get into overtime, but alas, they did not. So game number 1 in the hands here for Best Lark. But that does give me hope that there is still a competitive game here for game number 2, considering that kind of flip of the switch there at the end of the second game really started to go back on attack and made it to where they had a chance. You just got to do that a little bit earlier in game 2, and you're in a much better spot.
And I think they have a better idea now just of what to expect because, as you said, coming out the gate off the kickoff, 9 seconds in, maybe you're just not ready for that one. Then you get an idea as to how the opponents are going to play, what your expectations are throughout the game. So you see them adapt in real time. Then they get the understanding, and that's why you saw them get that relief out of their defensive zone, get onto the offensive attack. But yeah, just to try to do it a little bit sooner, and then maybe it would be a 2-2 game, and then in the last 30 seconds, instead of fighting for a tying goal, you'd be fighting for a go-ahead goal, a little bit less pressure, and maybe one of those actually goes in the back of the net.
Yeah, and we'll see already a quick start from Best Luck once again as they take the boost out of the corner too.
Oh.
Get a nice little clearance initially, and you're going to see with that boost, you're going to see Kisei still going way downfield. Unfortunate miss at midfield leaves the other side wide open. All Benino has to do is just put this on target. Can't do so, so that is not going to be a goal to start this game just yet. But still another chance here. Nice shot goes off the post, and another whiff at midfield just leaves a wide open net on the other side, and Rua from Missouri find themselves the first goal of the game.
Yeah, Adam finally gets that. Yeah, real incidental. Couple of swings and misses on both sides that all of a sudden just goes back right where it started. So they finally do get their first goal. They get the lead here. 4:19 to play, and Rura are the signs of life they showed there at the end of game number 1 have certainly carried over here to game number 2.
And we'll see if they can keep that momentum. Nice touchdown from Kisei's, not going to lead to anything. But from both teams, we've seen a couple of double commits leading to offensive chances, so they both have to be careful on that commitment, as well as a lot of boost has been vacant for both teams, and that just goes right past the defending side of Best Lark and right into the back of the net. Adam Merrick didn't have to do a whole lot there. Just kind of dribbled this one right past, and that is going to be the second goal here for Aurora in round number 3. Don't believe any other teams have made it just yet to the quarterfinals, so I'll keep you updated on that one. It is just Sea Dragons waiting as of right now, but of course the matchup of the century, matchup of today, Ambergasa and Stevzy, we'll keep you updated for sure on how that one goes.
Yeah, very excited to watch the outcome of that one, but now you're starting to see and get an idea of like how this is going to stack up. Another goal goes through, this time on the other side, and just a good read out of the air, being able to get that redirect in right over the defender. And gets them a goal back here, 3:46 to play. Still tons of time for either the lead to very quickly dissipate, or they could just as well open it up.
And an open net leads to a ball off the post once again, it seems, as both teams are struggling a little bit on getting this one into the back of the net. They love that post, though, so third man is on the defense here, and it's going to be that left or right post. If you're a Vegas Golden Knights fan, Marc-Andre Fleury, a big fan of the post as well, and the bar. And the both teams are of the same right now, of course, as we see this one has been high scoring, I guess. I mean, 2-1 in 2 minutes is higher scoring than we saw. I mean, last game ended 2-1, so already a different pace. And obviously on a different side of the field, Brewer is at the lead point right now, so they're going to try and maintain that one. Adam trying to not get bumped off the ball. We haven't seen a whole lot of demos or bumps just yet in our starting game so far of this qualifier number 2, but looking forward to a lot more of that leading into the semifinals, kind of grand finals area.
Yeah, certainly haven't seen as much physicality. I mean, just a little bit, you know, incidentally here and there, but not anything that seemed too intentional, nothing that would necessarily open the door for any goal opportunities, as we saw in our top 10 segment earlier on. But, you know, this is just kind of what I was talking about at the beginning of the day. You know, just kind of play your own style, play your own comfort level, and, you know, eventually the goals will come and you'll be kind of in your element to be able to play your game and play how you want, and then everything's gonna be completely normal. Another attempted dribble there with a shot on will get saved and deflected to the side, but coming up on the 2-minute mark, still holding on to that 1-goal lead. I think that Ruhr from Missouri kind of have a good understanding now of their opponents, and what they want to do is you see them put another goal in. He's just gonna get this one to give them the insurance lead.
And that is a nice little mark for this team. Get that extra insurance. Well, like you said, I mean, we know on the other side of the ball, they have been able to score and at least maintain that lead. So now they come back from a 2-goal deficit once again, in which we're seeing it's a lot of Adam scoring so far. Gets that ball around the defending player, but can't get that one onto net. You could just yeet that one across downfield and get that one in, and that's exactly what happened. So second goal comes right back from Best Lark, basically off the first 20-ish seconds off kickoff, and that's what happens. You leave the back of your net unattended. The counterattacks are very easy and very quick to maintain. Something I've liked so far, at least, I don't know if it's intentionally or not intentionally, from Ruhr, though, has been their boost control when they're attacking. They, a lot of the time, leave the enemies at 0 boost, I've seen, and obviously leads to a lot of easy goals. Nice stop there from Dino. Gets this one downfield. Potential another chance here, and wide open net. It's an even game.
Just like that. a little commit from the side. I mean, great initial attack, but that little chip shot over the defender, a very aggressive challenge coming out of midfield, and obviously very high risk, high reward type situation, but did not pay off, and thus the risk showcases itself as that gives a tying goal now. 3 minute 30 to play, looking to be a very good one. And
Oh,
all of
no.
here opportunity, missed the first one, but the second one goes through. Adam gets them the lead right back just about 10 seconds later. So they're still in control of their own destiny here, down a game in this best of 3.
And with 1 goal deficit, they Ruhr tries to lead themselves into a game number 3 to keep their quarterfinals dreams alive. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Bestlark just wants to get this one over, advance themselves to the quarterfinals, and see what is going to be the case from that point on. It's another one of those situations, though. Good dribbling downfield from Bedino. Doesn't get that necessarily on target, though. And boost can be collected once again. Nice save coming out from Kisei right there, stopping the game-tying goal. Good pinch off the wall as well. And you're seeing a nice touch here. Second touch from Bedino as well, and it goes right past the defender, but goes a little wide. So Adam missing, doesn't get punished this time. And surprised to not see him take that midfield boost there. With only 12 boosts, you don't have a lot to work with here. And it leads to a very awkward interaction there near the other side of the net, as now Bestlark tries to see if they can advance themselves to get another goal here. Nice little bump. Teammate bump helps him slingshot him a little bit. That's not what Kisei wants most of the time, but his teammate was there immediately, so no danger to come off that just yet.
Yeah, and for the time being, 15 seconds, you don't have a lot of time left here in this one. Like, you have to do something here and now from the Bestlark side, but they're on the wrong side of the field, and they're certainly playing a little more reactive. They're just a little out of control and spiraling at this point, where, like, they recognize exactly what is happening, what's about to. Zero's on the board, trying to go the other way, but the challenge is going to come through. Got to keep it in the air here, and instead, with the backflip, going to spike it right into the dirt. So now back to a 1-1 series score, looking to go into game number 3, and who's going to take. And right now, momentum is all on the side of Rura.
Yeah, it was a pretty high scoring game in general. 4-3 is the end score, and there's a lot of chances for both teams. We saw 1 goal usually back each way every time. As we take a look at the replays of that second game here, powered by Microsoft ATL. It is going to be an interesting third game to see how it starts, because like we said, game number 1 started very nicely for Nice Lark, or Best Lark, and then they lost traction at kind of the second half of the first game. Still won the first game, but then clearly going into the second game had lost a lot of their momentum they initially had in game number 1, in which you saw the 2-0 start from Rura from Missouri. So if they can keep that same start, Rura looks to try and lead this one once again. And whatever leading team has been able to hold on to it. No throws from either team just yet. So we'll see if they can continue that. Counterattack's a big part of this game, though, especially for the side of Bestlark. They got a couple of chances due to those counterattacks, due to the overcommitment on offense.
Yeah, and we've seen, kind of the same side from the other ways, where Rura's had opportunities as well, where they're trying to get shots on, get goals scored after an overcommit, double commit on the defensive front, something of that nature that leaves the opportunity open, but they just have not been able to execute, as we saw there in the last 30 seconds of game number 1, where had 2 or 3 open net opportunities. They just couldn't quite connect with what they were aiming for. Starting to get better there across game number 2, and I think that's why, especially still, you have the momentum building on that side, and that's why they feel like they should be in theoretically more control going into this to control their destiny, because of just the way that they kind of did take a convincing lead there. They did have that insurance goal on top. Granted, they were, after a defensive mistake of their own, they gave the goal right back. But I think there's a lot to build off of here from Rura, not only in this series, but in their next matchup, assuming they do make it as well. But that's the same for Bestlark as well. I mean, the fact that the way they came out into game number 1, they came out swinging. All they got to do is find that mojo again here in game number 3.
Yeah, exactly. They just got to be able to maintain now, because obviously at the end of game 1, they looked good. Game 2, they obviously won, looked a little bit better, and had a bit more scoring. And then going into game 3, they just need to carry that momentum, like they said, have a good start and lead that to a good finish, because both teams are definitely capable of being able to kind of maintain that lead we've seen so far, but it's been close. So that's the thing, is that both teams still have to play till the end of the bell at the end of this game, because or the end of the whistle, I guess, is you have to make sure
There you
you
go.
can't give them any time to try and find a way back into this game because both teams almost have. You saw in the first game with less than 30 seconds left and multiple chances from the opposing side of Aurora from Missouri, who lost that game, and then the other side it was 3-4 for about a minute and a half's time, to where Bestlark had a couple of chances they could have scored and could have gotten that game tied up. So it's definitely not out of the cards for either team just yet in this third game.
Yeah, which I think just makes it this much more exciting on the approach of how they go. Do they go with a little more aggressive style, or they okay, leave it all on the line type of thing because this is game three, this is the end all be all here for your day potentially, or is it just going to be a little more conservative? Like you don't want to be the one that overcommits, that makes those silly little mistakes and lets the door wide open for your opponents, and play a significantly more conservative, maybe a little bit lower scoring. But at that point, then you have to realize you can only potentially win off of one or two goals based off of what the last two games have been. And is that enough of a comfort window? And I don't think it is. I think you have to have it, at least three or four if you want, just based off of how these two teams are playing. So it's a fine line to walk, but I think that there is a potential going into this one where they might just open it a little more crazy, a little more aggressive, and try to abandon that defensive zone.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, we haven't really seen a couple of 2-0 or 2-goal lead at all in this tournament or in this game,
Right.
at least in this series. It's been a lot of you have a 2-goal lead for like 20 seconds and the other team scores immediately,
Maybe.
and now
Yeah.
it's suddenly back within one again. So, yeah, like you said, to even have a 2-goal lead in this series is pretty nice for these teams, but immediately a third goal would kind of tack that on as kind of that nail in the coffin in consideration, especially in this matchup, because of how we've seen them play so far. It's been very back and forth, and it has been up in the air as far as what team is going to win. And as we go into the third game of the series, see what team is going to win and advance themselves into the quarterfinals. Boost just going back. No boost here for Adam, and a collision with his teammate. Not exactly the start you want. Trying to find his way back towards the other side of the field here. See if they can get this to stop the counter attack. Stop the count and let Bestlark try and start this game with a lead. A good challenge from Badino there on about midfield. Stops the initial push and a way wide turn. Just puts him way out of position. And Bestlark go down early.
Go down. That little defensive miscue attempted challenge. A miss on the first one and miss off the bump off the second attempt. And Adam just has to be able to carry that one in and give them the first goal to go ahead. So like you said, momentum on the side of Rura, looking to continue and hold on to that one through game number 3. And 30 seconds in with the first goal up is at least enough to continue those building blocks. Maybe a second. Adam, just a quick little 1-2 is going to be able to keep this one and give them an insurance goal just after you were talking about. We haven't seen a lot of 2-goal leads here. As soon as we do, they strike back rather quickly. So now Rura have an opportunity here to try to hold on for their insurance lead a little bit longer.
Finally see a 2-goal lead, a very awkward kickoff, double commit from both sides, almost essentially, not from Bestlark, but Rura both committing to that one. Nice little yoink downfield here. Is going to get awkwardly touched and redirected back towards the other side. Bodino going to find the demo, but Kisei's going to find the ball, and Adam's going to go for a shot, but nice save from Shao here as he's able to get that one away from net initially. But still not a lot of boost for all participating players. That one goes right past him, and that's that 3-goal lead we're talking about, and they find it early.
The first time we've seen the 3-goal in this one, and you talk about not a lot of boost, and Kisei had just enough to get there, and there wasn't enough on the defensive front to cover. See both of them caught in the corner, had to get back in time, and they could not make it. So very quickly, going from a 1-0 to a 3-0 is a huge emphatic statement from Rura from Missouri and what they're doing against Bestlark right now. And it's just a point of looking to see what Bestlark can do to try to find an answer to break out of this dry spell, to get some points on the board and just relieve this pressure that Rura has found on this offensive attack. It's not giving up anytime soon.
Yeah, they find their 4th goal and make the lead even farther of a potential comeback for the other side. And we talked about how close this was, but now with the gap opening this much in this third game, it's looking even more difficult for the Italian team of Shao and Badino to try and make their way back into this game. 2 goals, sure. 3 goals, 4 goals is a lot. It's a big ask, especially when you're both trying to make the double commit on offense with 0 boost. you're going to put yourselves in desperate situations a lot of the time if that's the case. And it just looks like nobody has boost on this field ever. That's a fifth goal going in from Roar, though, and this game is heavily becoming out of reach now.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly it turned for Aurora and how they're able to just pour on the offense. I mean, you talked about getting goals on. We saw a 4-3 scoreline as the final in game number 2, and now we've seen 5 goals in the first minute and 45 seconds here in this one. So certainly have upped the ante and made sure that we're going to be able to get out of this one, move on to this one. That one from downtown, gonna get another one in, just somehow able to sneak that in almost from the own corner. He said gets shot on right over the defense and sinks it.
And that makes it 6-0 and makes the comeback almost impossible at this point. But we've seen better comebacks or worse comebacks. So 6-0 in 3 minutes. I mean, there's still a lot of time to play. You have over half the game still left on the clock. But that does mean they have to play some strong defense and get counterattacks like that potentially just to go straight into the back of the net. As they double commit again, the communication is just not there from this team. I mean, Badino probably had an easy chance at a goal right there, and his teammate touches it awkwardly. He takes him out of the attacking opportunity almost instantly, and then puts him on a double commit once again. So you have to be able to communicate that to your teammate to lay off the ball once you're flying midair already. Oh, good save.
Great save.
Oh,
And now
the crossbar.
continuing pressure, though. They finally get it. We talked about the framework and everything that it's done right there. The third man coming in, and they finally do get a favorable bounce off of that crossbar. It was enough of a deflection, technically. Their own goal to come through, but there was enough support there. I think that ball probably would have crossed anyways. But now, just past the halfway point, it's 7-0 in favor of Aurora. And I think this is one of those that you, as you so kindly put it, there's at times just to understand when it's probably not going to happen. And now it's 8-0, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, you could slowly start to chalk this one away, probably around that 4-0 mark, and then suddenly they've just something triggered in Roar from Missouri to allow them to score an insane amount of goals. And whether that's a lack of defense on Best Lark or just Roar finding more attacking opportunities and realizing that, oh, that's not exactly what you want in game number 3, is especially when you're down 8-0 already, is an own goal from your own teammate, as Bandino just kind of slots that one in. And that's going to be 9-0 on the board here for this team as we look to our next matchup at this point. You're going to see Roar from Missouri is going to advance themselves more than likely into the quarterfinals. Chubby Atletico and Z Dragons, the two teams waiting in the quarterfinals already, and some fantastic news on what our next matchup is going to be. It's going to be that round 3 matchup, Ambergesa versus Stevzi. I'm looking forward to that one insanely in consideration to the last couple of games we've seen.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. And I think that just based off of, what we've seen already, Ambergesa is probably favored to win that one, but that is going to be the team that does give the best run for their money on the other side. And I think that is going to be, like you said, a championship caliber matchup that we are fortunate to have in round number 3. Kisei putting the moves on. Now all of a sudden, this is looking to what is going to happen out of this. Watching what Rura has done, not only just to get the quick adaptation in game number 1, but then all of a sudden to be able to win game number 2 confidently and win game number 3 convincingly. This Rura team looks like they're in it to try to make a statement on their potential opportunity to qualify for the finals at the end of the month as well, coming out of today.
Yeah, this looked like our first matchup of the 2-10-0, 10-1 matchups that we're like, oh yeah, this is a wash. There's no way this other team comes back, which is crazy because Best Lark obviously won game 1, had a decent chance at a comeback in game 2, and now just lost control of game number 3 very quickly into this one. Now we're ticking down to less than a minute. I gotta respect the not forfeiting, but I'd be gone by like the 5-0 mark and going to the next series if I was Best Lark, going to get some dinner or something and moving on and having a good rest of your Thursday. If you got anything else to do, there's football, of course. Haha. That's the 11th goal though for Missouri though, as 35 seconds left on the clock. chalk them down for the quarterfinals. They're going to move in. And Ambergate and Stevzies are next, awaiting matchup that I am very excited for.
Yeah, very excited indeed to see what this is. We can expect that this is going to be it. You know, understanding team's going to call this one, go ahead, go next. It'll be a victory if the team backed out. So that'll be Rura moving on out of this one with an 11-0 scoreline, a 2-1 series. They were able to make the comeback and get themselves into this. But as you said, yeah, our next matchup is going to be the one we're so excited for. And I think that this is going to be very interesting because, as we said, if Ambergesa loses this and Stevzi does win, I think all of a sudden that promotes Stealth and Revzi to the crowd favorite, the champion favorite, the tournament favorite, whatever you want to call them. They should be the line favorite odds to be able to take it home here for qualifier number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you beat the defending champions. It makes it very easy to try and take out the entire tournament. So, yeah, Stevzi has a big lump on their back to try and carry in that game. But let's take a look at the replays of that series. Of course, Rura from Missouri advancing themselves to the quarterfinals, knocking out the Italian side of Best Lark. And Rura from Missouri awaits their matchup against Serendipity and Unrunnity to try and see who they're going to face in the quarterfinals. A lot of early action. Games 1 and 2 looked good on both sides of the ball for both teams. And then game 3, of course, opened wide up to an 11-0 scoreline. I'm wondering what took them past the forfeit mark is the 11th goal. I mean,
Yeah.
props to staying in that long, but after the 11th one, it seemed to have triggered something.
Yeah, that was enough of a statement there for them in that one. But I think that it probably should have been like 6 or 7 where they realized that there was just no chance whatsoever that there was any opportunity for a comeback, because Rura just absolutely cranked it up to 11 in this game number 3, where they just walked away without even looking at the explosion, because they are just that cool and just had no concerns whatsoever about winning this series. And now I think it'll be interesting to see what they can do going to their next series as well, if they're going to be able to continue and carry this momentum through, or if this is just going to be where it all just fizzles out. You know, they just unfortunately have finished too soon and they just can't do anything more after this.
Yeah, I'm a prospect of finishing too soon. As we see, Ambergase and Stevzi are going to try and advance themselves into the quarterfinals. Two of the best teams in the tournament, of course, for qualifier number 2. Try to look to the future to see who can win this one. I mean, obviously, if you're Ambergase, this is less important. You're already qualified, already looking good. You just want the money at this point. So this is an even more important game for Stevzi because they want to qualify themselves into the finals. And with this one and the next one, there's only 2 shots left. Can't make it here. You already have some pretty unlucky seeding to go against Ambergase in round 3, but this would be the time, if any, because as far as where it goes past that, we don't really know what the competition level is like going into the kind of quarterfinals, semifinal areas. So you take out Ambergase, you have a really good chance of winning this tournament.
On the other side, other teams will be watching this one and just, I think, cheering for Stevzi to be able to take down Ambergesa, because they're like, you know what? We're tired of seeing Ambergesa always there. We know what they do to teams like us, and it's just not fair. We don't have a chance there. So, maybe they'll think if they face off against Stealth and Revzi that there's a better odds for them to maybe sneak something out on the other side. But I hate to break it to you that Stealth and Revzi is, almost just as good. I think the only thing you can't take away from Ambergase is the fact that Joloding and Louis P have played together so many times now. They just inherently know everything about what's going to happen with the synergy. So this is going to be very interesting to watch from the perspective of understanding Ambergase probably favored to win. On the other side, looking to see what Stealth and Revzi can do, because 2 very good individual players, and not sure quite of how synergetic they already are. But to a point, it doesn't even matter when you're just that skilled. There's just some things that it can cover.
Yeah, and if you've been looking for some really good Rocket League this whole time, now is the matchup you're excited for. This is finally getting into that mark, getting to that side of the bracket to where we get to see these really good teams face each other. You already see some really good, solid redirects from both sides. Jaldin gets that one off the backboard, able to stop that initial, but he only has 20 boost. Doesn't have a whole lot to work with. He's just going to have to send that one over to Luis, who gets it just off the crossbar. Can't get that one in. Nice bump and nice redirect. Actually works out in their favor, and Ambergase finds an early lead that I don't even know if they were expecting.
Yeah, just A real quick little 1-2, just barely got that front tire on there to send that redirect in and sneak it in that left post to give him that first one. Yeah, it's a very quick, unexpected goal, I think, from all parties involved, but still able to get a quick strike back is, very impressive. Revsy, but just like Kieran, we know has the ability in a 1v1 type scenario to be able to get away with some disgusting things, and paired up with stealth, I think you can just expect virtually the same result.
Yeah, and going into this one, especially losing is not what you want if you're Stevzy. If you're a fan of Stevzy, of course, you want them to be winning, but putting yourself at a disadvantage immediately against a team like Amber Gaze is not exactly the easiest thing to come back from. Of course, these higher-end teams, these teams that always make the finals, that win qualifiers week after week, are going to be those teams that can keep the leads in games like this. And you can see right there, Luis is getting very close on and trying to get a second goal to go through. But you kind of expect this to be a kind of low-scoring affair. The only thing is we say that sometimes, and then we watch like Top Cougars Amber Gaze, and it goes like 8-7. And we're like, okay, I don't know what happened to the defenses this game, but both teams can just score so effectively. So that's the one thing about good teams facing other good teams, is that they can both score very well. It's just the defenses are also up the ante a little bit. So that's why we say the games should be more defensive oriented. But nice shot going through there and not being able to react in the back of the net. Jalding just had to watch that one go through, and Revsy finds himself an initial goal here for the team, getting themselves up the tying goal.
Yeah, just a nice little disruption there in front of the net as well, just to be able to be a nuisance enough to be able to get that equalizer there. So 3 minutes left to play, 1-1 scoreline, make it 2. That was a very quick turnaround. All dang, Louis Pete wasting no time, winning the kickoff, getting to that ball, even with the full boost picked up. Just a half second of hesitation from Revsy. Could not cover to the other corner, and Jalding sneaks it in.
And that is once again a lead as expected for Amber Gaze. They're happy to take that one right back. Another nice shot gets saved right at the edge of the net there from Revsy as he tries to take this one off the wall. Does kind of awkwardly get there. The boost spawns perfectly timed for him as he tries to find a pinch. Finds a pass instead and finds a goal as he finds Stealth on the other side of the pitch there for a really nice play. That mid boost spawning helping him quite a bit here, and then getting that past Jalding. Very, very nice play from Stevzy to get themselves back at equal pace once again.
Yeah, just again, a very quick strike going the other way. I think really good read as well from Stealth out of the corner to be able to get the nose on, just in a quick little boost tap, just enough to be able to keep them in position and keep that in play. But like you said, that mid boost spawn was just crucial for that attack to finally come through and execute. Now with potential of this halfway through tie game, I mean, talking about what Stevzy can do, they started to apply the pressure. They're getting the shots on. They're forcing saves out of the Amber Gaze's side and forcing them out of their comfort zone where they're so good. And that challenge there in the air, couldn't even get to it. Stealth gets the nose on first where the defender just caught snoozing, and the go-ahead goal for Stevzy.
And that is the first time this game they've had the go-ahead goal. So it is a nice point in this game for them to be able to have game one potentially under their belt. But there's just so much time left on the board here for Amber Gaze that it's still a very difficult setting that they have to find themselves in. Stealth with a really nice challenge, though, off the ceiling, being able to stop the initial attack from Luis. But Jalding still going to keep this one in play. Nice initial redirect, but a good slot from Luis is just going to get that one right past both defenders. And once again, we're back at equal pace, 3-3.
And just a quick little tap there. Again, the defenders caught in the air, just can't get back on the ground in time to reset their momentum and try to get back into a better position. But 2 to play, tie game. What else could you ask for from teams like this?
You can't ask for too much else. We're already seeing a high score in affair. This is exactly what you love to hear, love to see, as it is 3-3 now, and a slot of the ball gets placed but doesn't go in the back of the net. Revsy tries to get himself downfield. 0 boost for him, though. He just tries to get the challenge at least to maybe get him or Stealth some boosts, but neither one of them having any boost here to challenge Jalding means that Jalding just slides it right past him. And an interesting situation because I felt like at least one of them could have had time to get that the boost, but that being the case, it was just an awkward positioning. Joloding's too fast, and the lead back into Ambergase's favor once again as a very back and forth matchup to be expected. Keeps us on our toes as Stevzy had the lead for a little bit, but Ambergase immediately takes it back.
Yeah, and also the same thing. We talk about how a defensive matchup potential between these two, but then all of a sudden you just see the defense getting outclassed by the offensive prowess of these two teams. So it's a 4-3 score line, and wouldn't be surprised at all to see someone put up 5-6 goals in the game, because sometimes that's just the chaos that is these teams, and they just decide, yeah, I'm not really too worried about playing defense, because I know our offense is working so well that we can just beat the other team by scoring more than them. And more often than not, you score more than the other team, you got a pretty good chance of winning.
That is very true, and a good chance of winning now is if Stealth can get this one to go to the back of the net. Nice air dribble, goes off the crossbar though, but Revsy's still there for the second chance and brings this one back to 4-4 now. Great initial air dribble from Stealth. He had to try and do the extra move there at the end because he already knew Joloding or Luis were going to be there for the initial shot, so he had to try and put something else on top of it. Still ends up working out though, getting that one off the crossbar and over to his teammate. Good positioning from Revsy to be there immediately after, and that is a close shot, but Luis with a fantastic save. Gets that boom downfield as well, so gives them time to get some boost and kind of recollect themselves after going down, going back to equal pace once again.
And such a great series here. Louis P trying to get one in, does. The crossbar comes in clutch one more time. We talk about the framework being the third man on the field today. Louis P with the great aerial over the first defender, and Revsy can't do enough to disrupt Louis P's challenge to give them that fifth go-ahead goal. 14 ticks to play, and just because it's a goal up, you cannot count them out of this one yet.
Especially when the Stevzy team's on their side of the field, and I didn't see a single defender. As they did get back in time, Luis is going to try and just stall this one. He gets 100 boost. This might just be the nail in the coffin. The ball is still up in play, and Stevzy has 100 boost now. You saw him get that boost pad in the back. Has a flip reset potential. Doesn't get that one to go in, though. Gets it close, but no cigar, and Ambergase finds the first win of the series, which I'm sure Stevzy, looking at that one, kind of disappointed themselves that they couldn't try and keep that lead. But against a team like Ambergase, you really have to work to try and at least even take that in overtime. They're constantly going to be on offense, and we'll take a look at the offense of both teams in the replays powered by Microsoft ATL for game number one. Looking forward to game number two, though, to see, because I think Stevzy, now seeing how that game went, I think Stevzy has a chance to bring the series back.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised at all if they do take this one. And it started with, Joloding getting the first one, but then it was just back and forth after that the whole way through. Finally saw where it went to a tie game, and then immediately after that, it was just, okay, back up the goal. Then the tie game, and okay, now we're back up the goal. It was just so fast-paced between scores that it was just not a lot of adjustment period to be able to find something the other way. But both offenses working well enough that they didn't have to worry too much about it. But as we all know, and we've seen happen time and again, Ambergase is just really good at performing in the clutch. They did it last week, where all of a sudden you thought, after a decimating loss in the grand finals, the Top Cougars, where it was like a ridiculously one-sided affair in game number 2, Ambergase came out in game 3, game 4, and just stomped Top Cougars. Was like, yeah, we gave you one, and now we're just going to take the rest. So even if you think you're close, you're not even close.
And just thinking about that level of competition, I miss the Bella and Bungie boys.
True.
Boys. I do miss that team. They were one of the best duos we've kind of ever seen, I think, in our tournaments. They were fantastic together, and then the Plastizzi they're known as. But, I mean, going into this second game here, Stevzy's got a lot on the line. We already talked about Ambergase already qualified for the finals. Nothing really on the line for them besides some extra money today. But Stevzy needs to try and find themselves a way back into this series in general, let alone this game, to try and keep their hopes up, to even get, this is just to the quarterfinals. They still have a little bit of work to get into the actual qualifying spots in today's tournament.
And as we've talked about before, the luck of the seeding and watching what some teams have, we've seen round one draws where it's like two teams like Top Cougars and Ambergase facing off against each other. Like, this is a ridiculous round one matchup for no good reason. And I think based off the result of that, obviously the rest of the tournament then gets skewed to favor because one of your most difficult opponents that registered is out of the equation. And that's going to be a thing as that everyone looks at this series, because regardless of who wins, there's a very, very good team that is going to be eliminated coming out of this series. And all of a sudden, it just makes the odds that much better. And if Amber Gase is the one that does move forward, they've already got a spot in the grand finals at the end of the month. So that opens up one more free spot, even in the top 4 when they do get that far in this bracket.
And with very little going on in this game so far, Luis is going to stop the initial chance from Stevzy trying to get back in to the lead for once. Amber Gesa just kind of cool with playing this chill game, I think. I think it favors them. They have some really good chances. An immediate great save coming out from the defending side of Stevzy there, I believe, was Stealth in net. And now they have a chance back on net to goal here. Stealth just sends that one a little too high, but immediately there for the follow-up is Revzy. And that is going to be the lead they were looking for in the second game. Stealth and Revzy have been really good at finding each other so far on offense.
And just a really good pickup off the wall there to play it, and just good understanding that your teammate's going to be coming in from the midfield, play it off the backboard, keep it high, out of the defense's reach, and then get the shot on. That also sends the shot high because the initial reaction from the defense is to try to go up on the backboard, try to get that ball. And after that, they're both falling down. So the shot on the follow goes high into the corner. Really good heads-up play from both to be able to play around the defenders like that.
And a nice little touch there from Luis to get that one away from immediate danger. But it's definitely in control of Stevzy now to control their fate of this tournament. Stealth has a good touch here potentially, but Luis is just in there immediately after. Not the touch that Stealth probably wanted. Good demo onto him, as that's probably pretty changing there. But Geraldine still finds an immediate challenge anyways. Gets a second touch off the wall to try and just be a nuisance, and that's all you kind of need to do. If you see your teammate get demoed or bumped off the ball, you just need to challenge the opposing side. Give your teammates some extra time to respawn, of course, and to get some extra boost. As you said, there's a good chance here for Geraldine and Luis, but Revzy just too fast. Just kept avoiding Geraldine there in the backfield. Looks like Geraldine was kind of chasing them down, headhunting for a demo maybe, so they can get that extra that goal back. But very nicely done in speed. Too much to handle. It could be a chance here though. Hops onto the side of the wall. Not exactly where he wanted that ball to go, but I'm sure. Still a chance and still a score from Luis. Now it's tied 1-1, and this game just ever gets so much closer.
Yeah, and it all started with that double commit there at midfield. Really good job by Louis P to draw both of the defenders, and just that simple second of hesitation there out of the corner was enough to draw another defender on a full commit challenge to be able to get them out of the play. And then after that, you can just give it another little tap over the top to set your teammate up to put it in the back of the net. Really smart play. We give credit to what Stevzy did on the other side, playing around the defense. We just saw Amber Gesa do the exact same thing. And what a change of pace from game number 1 to game number 2, where it was 5-4. And now we're going into the final 60 seconds here with a 1-1 scoreline.
Lot on the line, as we've said, for Stevzy here in the tournament hopes and the qualifier ending spree on the line here. Stealth was trying to look for a redirect there. A nice challenge from Revzy. Gives him a little bit more time to get boost and to fall back a little bit. Not on target, so Geraldine should be able to handle that quite easily. But the challenging here, very nice from Stealth and Revzy so far. Putting Geraldine and Luis in some very awkward situations. Good challenges here once again, but both these players at a very low boost and just kind of being that nuisance. Like I said, you have 0 boost and you're already on the other side of the field. Just try and challenge at least. Try and not give them any time to recollect themselves. Just be annoying, and it's working out so far. Luis going to go for the boost instead of for the ball. That's probably still the smarter move there. Didn't have an immediate way into the net, so instead going to boost starve them a little bit. Good redirect from the defending side. Nice bump comes through as well from Luis. And well, with only 20 seconds left, one of these teams has to find something. Otherwise, we're going to game 2 overtime, which I feel like benefits Amber Gesa a little bit.
Yeah, because we know that they perform well in the clutch. Like, there's just no chance at all. But that shot's on target. But Louis P will push this to the side. Ball's on the ground, so we're going to overtime here in game number 2 of our round 3 matchup. Of course, Stevzy trying to fight to survive here, backs against the wall. Louis P's going to get the setup off the backboard. Watch Shaw didn't come back in, but it's deflected off to the side, so there is no chance there for this one. But we just can expect Ambergesa is just sitting in their comfort zone now because of the success rate that they've had in overtime is ridiculous. I think in probably 6 or 7 games they've played, they've lost maybe 1 in overtime. Like, it's ridiculous how good they are when you get to this golden goal situation.
Yeah, and as of right now, they've already struck close. Luis got it just a little bit over the bar once again. No one back besides Jalding here, but easily able to recollect that one, get himself 100 boost as well. Now off the ceiling, see what he can work with. Misses the initial touch on his way down. And they have to be careful of the speed of Revsy, but he handles that just perfectly as Luis gets that one to the other side of the field and stealth. There's just a lot of back and forth challenging between both teams. Not really any dangerous situations in overtime just yet, but a lot of quick challenges from both sides, and gets that one right under him. And Revsy being the one, gets him in the overtime and gets him into the overtime win, and brings this series into the 3rd game, exactly what these two teams probably were expecting. But Ambergesa going down in that one, looking to see if their tournament future's on the line here.
Yeah, it's just interesting that, we give so much credit to Ambergesa and what they can do in overtime, and then they drop that. But then you look at the other side and we talk about, what Rezi is, and, as a incredibly capable solos player, and we just know that something is very feasible to happen. Take a look at the replays coming out of this, and as we said, between game 1 and game 2, not a lot to look at, comparatively speaking, because of the fact that the offense just significantly slowed down here in this one, going into overtime with a 1-1 scoreline. But there's just a lot of close calls, a few disruptions here and there. But beyond that, it was just a very slow stalemate that both of these teams just would not budge.
Yeah, a lot of awkwardness in this game. Like I said, a lot of just challenging from both sides of the teams, both sides of the field. From both teams, you got some really close calls a few times for Luis, and then on the other side, especially to go with the last 2 seconds on the clock, almost a potential chance. But this is just a really great move from Revsy, just keeping it low, keeping it close to his car, and getting it right past the defending side of, I believe it was Jalding there, brings them into a 3rd game, and a well-deserved 3rd game, I'm sure, for both parties, as they both have looked really good so far in this series. And obviously that game number 2 kind of shows you what's on the line. I mean, obviously we already said there's not a crazy amount on the line for Ambergesa, but Stevzy is playing for the tournament live for a qualification spot in the finals. And they kind of played like that. It was a very close game back and forth, 1-1 for most of the time, and a very different game from game 1. So game 3, we'll see if that game was the outlier, if this one starts off to scoring madness, or if it's going to be another very close defensive game again.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the approach is going to be. Kind of similar to what we said in the last Game 3 series. Are we just abandoning the defensive side and just try to outscore our opponents again? And I think that one, flip a coin. I think actually either approach, whether they go offense or defense, just flip a coin, because it could go to either side as to who comes out on top in this one. But I think confidence for Stevzy has to be about as high as it possibly could be after taking game number 2. But on the other side, Ambergesa is just one of those teams that you can, regardless of the score, even if it's 3-0 with a minute left, you can't count them out at any point.
You already seen a really close chance from the attacking side of Luis and Jalding. Revsy and Cell try and take this one downfield a bit. Now we see Luis waiting in the back of the net as Luis collects that boost. Awkward touch here. There should be a wide open net, and that's exactly the case, as Luis makes a small mistake and lets Stevzy right into this game early. And I don't know if he got a piece of that or just a very awkward touch, but nonetheless, it just left the ball right in front of net. I'm sure Jalding wasn't expecting that, so he wasn't on the rotation back, and that leaves an open net. And just a minute in, Stevzy finds their lead and tries to find this game against the best team in this tournament right now, Ambergesa.
Yeah, and a very rare mistake there as well, as we talked about how just efficiently they were doing on the defensive side for the entirety of the last game. And the only goals that they were giving up, during regular time was where the offense was able to successfully maneuver around the defense and kind of psych them out. On this one, it was just straight up a mistake from Louis P. Just could not do that. And like you said, Jalding probably not expecting that, just because you can rely on your teammate and their capability for, the solo responsibility. But on this side now, all of a sudden, maybe a little too aggressive of a commit from Stevzy. There's nobody back home. And Jalding's going to be able to take this one at midfield and send it into the back of the net.
Yeah, Revsy, I was wondering what happened there. It looked like Revsy was just too slow on the come up and couldn't get back in time. So he just went for the challenge instead and wasn't fast enough, which made it to basically an open net for Jalding at that point. Nice bump here. A good decision from Stealth right there. He obviously got the boost, and instead of going to try and dribble with the ball, he instead went for the demo on the bump. Like you see right now, what's happening in net to Luis. Just absolute bullying from Stealth. The entirety of what was leading to that goal, and Luis just tried to get away, but just couldn't.
Yeah, almost set themselves up to a Rule 1 there in the back of the net, but just got into a point now where, like you said, just being a bully, being a nuisance, getting in the way of the defense, and thus creating that opportunity to give them the lead back once more. So Stevsy, again, coming off the last game, what a shot, what a better save from Revsy. The full interruption of what I was trying to say, well worth that, because that was such a good effort on both fronts. But I think Stevsy, even after that now, just have to be feeling pretty good about where they're at and the standing in this current game state.
And we see a very, very close game still on the clock. You can obviously never count on Ambergesa with just about halfway through this game. Plenty of time for them to work with, and with the skill level at hand, plenty of time for either one of these players. As a nice little fake initially gets that one past Revsy, who tried to pre-jump thinking Luis was going to carry that one. But now at least Jalding in a really awkward situation, and a little bit of a misinput there as Jalding does a backflip in net and just, I mean, leaves it wide open.
Lag?
You hate to see it. You hate to see it.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm just going to all chat lag, and yep, that's... Nobody saw that. No one was paying attention, but a demo on this, and all of a sudden, a quick one-up right back. Stealth's going to give the 4th goal, so now a 3-goal lead, 2:14 to play, and that's an impressive start there to that kickoff.
And I don't know what's happening anymore. Ambergesa is falling apart a little bit, as now we see a 3-goal lead. I'm still obviously not going to count them out of it, but a 3-goal lead is a massive lead to have in Rocket League and any sports game in general. As you can see already, Jalding just from downtown, I actually think got a redirect on that one. Actually, might have just been this initial touch. Okay, yeah, so it was just initial touch. I thought Jalding was Luis there. But yeah, just that initial touch straight downfield. It sends that one in. Now we're only back within 2 with 2 minutes left. So still plenty of time to work with for Ambergesa to try and fund some more counterattacks. Just have seen a really solid defense, I feel like, from Stealth and Revsy so far, to where they've been challenging really early and not giving Luis and Jalding a chance to even find a passing play with each other. Jalding in a 1v1 finds nothing, and neither can Luis from the side, as a very dangerous chance gets thwarted. And Stevsy stay alive a little bit longer in this one.
Real close opportunity there as well. I mean, Luke just had to be able to get that redirect inside the left post, but unfortunately a little too far out wide to be able to do anything with it. Gets the fake on the first defender, though. Revsy there with the save, but Jalding on the follow sends it to the upper 90, and as quickly as they went down 3 goals, they are back within 1. The phenomenal 1-2 punch here from Louis P. and Jalding.
And back within 1 after we said the 3-goal lead was a difficult lead to come back in. Not when you're Ambergesa, not when you're one of the best teams in the tournament that we've seen. It's never a difficult situation you put yourself in. Jalding with a fantastic challenger stops that from going in. You see maybe Stealth going for another demo or bump on to Luis once again. Luis having nightmares of seeing Stealth in the back of his net right now. As we see a potential chance here leading, but a second touch I don't think was intended from Luis there, but puts that ball way downfield. And Jalding going to go for a touch. 55 seconds left in this one. 4-3 still the score. Revsy would have liked to get that one on net, but still able to recollect and get some boost. Also, of course, every boost you take on their side of the field starves them a little bit longer. Awkwardness for both players there, but Revsy collects it just fine. In 40 seconds, Ambergesa needs to find an attack now.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you can rely on Ambergesa to put together an attack very quickly, but unfortunately the time is against him, and if it's in a position where it's a tie game, then maybe it's a little bit better off. But see if Jalding's able to get one here. Lost control of that one in the middle of it. The demo there onto Stealth, potentially creating a 2-on-1 opportunity here, but respawn is going to come through, but just in time. Stealth's going to come across the net to make the save down to the single digits, and of a sudden, Ambergase is still threatening here, trying to find something good bump off the ball to open it up. And that'll be another one on the board. Not quite so much, but Stevzy instead are going to take this one by just a breath of a hair and just being able to hold out on defense just a little bit longer. And they will beat out Ambergase 2-1.
Yeah, it's a huge win, obviously, going as far as how the tournament's going to play out. Mighty P has advanced themselves to semifinals. That's the other one of those teams that we're like, this is probably that team to look out for that you were talking about
Yep.
constantly, that made a couple of the top 10 highlights earlier on from last week, too. So it's a good team, and they've already solidified their spot in the semifinals. And now Stevzy looks to have, I think, an easier route to the semifinals than they probably would have expected, especially considering they knocked Ambergase out on the way there. But let's take a look at the replays of the series, see how Stevzy made it to the to the quarterfinals initially. But like I said, Ambergase on their side of the bracket was probably the hardest team to face, at least from face value that we know of. So to get them out now, advance yourself to the quarterfinals, and have a really good chance to not even face someone like Mighty P until the grand finals in this point is actually pretty big for them and could lead them to a qualification spot today.
Yeah, I certainly would expect to see Stevzy at that point, and just kind of looking at what's going to be going on with the rest of the bracket, like you said, just how they now have this opportunity to go through this, because as we talked about at the beginning, you know, whoever beats Ambergase, if it's not in the grand finals, probably has a really good chance to actually win this qualifier here today. And I think Stevzy has not only stepped up to do just that, to beat Ambergase, but they also are in a great position now to win outright today's qualifier. But there are still a few teams like we talk about that could be in the way, and I think Mighty P, as I've given as much credit as I possibly can to that squad, is another one of those teams they have to certainly prove themselves in this. But I think it'll be very exciting and very interesting to watch if Stevzy can maintain this success.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very difficult to try and see how they don't win this tournament. I mean, the Ambergase was the returning champion of last week. They looked phenomenal going into this week, of course, as per usual, and then had a really close series in which, I mean, they almost came back from a 3-goal deficit, which is scary, but Stevzy put them at a 3-goal deficit in the first place. So that's kind of the thing you have to see in both ways, is that, yes, there was a huge comeback potential from Ambergase, but Stevzy looked really good as well, and we're able to constantly put them in awkward positions. And like we were talking about earlier on, the more we're starting to see demos and bumps and really creative plays that get the lead to the goals, and that's what we saw just then. So very, very nicely done. Gets them advanced to the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, Mighty P and Serendipity have advanced themselves to the semifinals. Stevzy and Chubby Atletico is going to be our next quarterfinal matchup, but that's going to be after a quick break. So do not go anywhere. We'll be back after a quick break. We'll see you then. Potentially, maybe more break.
Maybe do it.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
a
send-
break. Maybe
Dark
throw a
Street
break.
laser beams.
Welcome back, everyone, to the IATL Rocket League Qualifier number 2 for the month of September. My name, of course, Troy Pibb Welling. Next to me, Trevor Confused Caribou McNeil. We are back for our second quarterfinals and potentially the last quarterfinals leading up to the semis here, as Mighty P and Serendipity are awaiting their matchup already in the semifinals, and we see if Stevzy or Chubby Atletico lead into the semifinals now. Of course, take a look at the bracket, see how everything did develop today. Amber Geisa, our previous champion, out of the tournament as far as that last game went against Stevzy. So, I mean, that's a huge change to the bracket. And I mean, in consideration to what we would have seen last week, it's going to be a different change of what we're going to see in this top 4 here.
Yeah, and the biggest factor is the fact that, Amber Geisa's gone out of this. So now you have literally like 2 teams that we've seen anything from between Stevzy and Mighty P. And that's about where you draw the line. Everyone else here has fully taken to heart what we were saying at the beginning of the day, in the sense that we don't have a lot of our frequent flyers here that make it and fill up this top 8 bracket. So this is a chance for all of them to really step up, try to get their name onto the ticket for the end of the month qualifier. And I'm excited to see who is going to come out of this one, because like I said, we know Stevzy, we know Mighty P's good, but is it going to be enough to get them to the grand finals, or is one of the other 6 teams here going to beat the disruptor to stop and surprise us?
Yeah, that's it's gonna be fun to see how this does play out. Of course, like you said, can Sobe Atletico try and find a way in? I mean, you beat the team that beat the previous champions, you're probably going to win the tournament. I mean, that's kind of, we're just going to keep on this route of you beat the team that beats the champion, or the team that beats the champions looking like the best team. And that's, I mean, that's going to stay true until the end of time, realistically. I mean, you beat the number 1 ranked seed in any tournament, you're probably looking like the number 1 ranked seed at that point, because you beat them. So that's what might be the case here. Unless you're like, you know, Loyola, you know, you just have a crazy win and no one is expecting it. And, you know, maybe that's a different story. But as of right now, Stevzy, I'm sure it did. Stevzy does look like a fantastic team. And of course, in that series, took it to all 3 games and made a comeback, obviously, in which they lost the first one and were able to win the next 2. So shows you some resilience on that side. And going into their quarterfinals matchup, need to have even more resilience to try and maintain that going forward. To try and advance them to the semifinals. Almost a guarantee in the semifinals to get a qualification spot, but at this point, I believe it's all new top 4. So all of these people are fighting for a qualification spot in the next finals.
Yeah, all 3 of these are going to be coming up, and you know, looking at what's going to come out of this one, you know, what we've seen from Stevzy, we know Stealth is a really good player. He's played with Kieran before, and you know, Kieran, one of those storied players, has played with Smokes and Toxic before. Like, there's just this
Right.
storyboard linkage to everybody that has been a person that's either won a championship or been to a lot of championships or been in that picture here on the Stevsy side. And with Revsy coming in as well, another one of those really talented individual players. We just saw how good they are against Ambergesa. And because they beat the best, they are the best, as the old adage would go. So I think that's Stevsy probably should be favored to win this one. And I don't know if they're going to take it to 3 or if take it to a game 3, but I think that Chubby Atletico is really going to be able to kind of showcase us and send us some messages to how good they actually are here in this one, and if it's going to be worthwhile for them to stretch it to a game 3 if they can win out in that one.
Yeah, and of course, I believe this is an NA/EU matchup, so they are going to have to go back and forth, and a lot of that is going to depend on who kind of gets that first game advantage as far as servers go. That'll be a huge
Sure.
part, ping wise, to see who has that. And a lot of teams don't even have the experience on playing on different servers, so that's where we see like teams like Top Cougars and um, Pastezi. I was trying to remember their name, but
Yeah.
like these kind of teams that play on
Letty.
EU
Yeah.
that constantly play back on the NA servers and then clap people on the NA servers as much as they could on the EU servers. Like it shows you that experience and that it's really important to have in a kind of an international tournament like this where you have both the NA servers and the EU side. Is that experience helps a lot being able to play with that high ping. So that's going to be the indication of this matchup to see who kind of has that going forward. And as of right now, I believe Stevsy has the initial host. So the first game is going to be on EU. So they are, I mean, kind of the favorites going in this one already, and that puts them even higher in this one. Probably going to be a 2-0 for me for Stevsy here, but I'm interested to see how Chubby Atletico do.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see if they can step up here and be that pleasant surprise. We've talked about some of these teams that just all of a sudden come out of nowhere. Mighty P was that team last week, and now that we know Mighty P is a mighty team, I've been watching them, and that's why they're in the semifinals already. But just understanding the history between these two, it's going to be very interesting to see Stevsy is going to be able to overcome this unknown adversary on the other side. See Stevsy in blue, Chubby Atletico in orange. 30 seconds in, seeing a little bit of back and forth here, but find Stealth and Revsy on the attack once more.
And a quick save off the bat. Stormy going to be able to try and get this one away from danger, but Stealth was right back trying to find a double tap. Can't find it, and still is able to get that one in. So that is a dub to start this game for Stevsy. Stealth and Revsy once again just connect. I mean, we've seen this a lot of the time. Revsy's in very good positioning for the follow-up shot of Stealth's initial shot, and they've scored quite a few times. And it's still working out in this game, still working out to try and advance into the semifinals. And as they were much expecting, I'm sure, to have a good start to this series.
Yeah, and it's just one of those that, in a situation like that, you leave Stealth as the one-on-one against a defender. Either Stealth is going to take that shot, put it on target, and is going to score, or leave it exactly like you did. Leave it up for Revsy on the follow to get the last touch, get the shot on, and get that goal scored. But Stealth this time, even with the opportunity for the followed, opts out of that one just in case of a quick counterattack, and going to play it a little bit safe for the time being. Just probably still, getting a feel for the water, see how it is. If there's anything that they really have to be overly worried about, but let's see on the rotation back is going to stop this counter opportunity and is going to leave the back door wide open, and Stealth's going to take that one every single time. Minute and a half in, they get a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, and this is what we were kind of talking about earlier, is that you don't really know how the bracket kind of develops with random seeding. So like Chubby Atletico could be a very fantastic team. They could be SSLs, or they could have had some easy matchups, a couple of, the second or third round matchups in which they faced some teams that, weren't like Ambergesa and Stevsy, It's like, so that's what's always interesting, especially going to quarterfinals. It obviously develops from this quarterfinals and semifinals very easily, but going into quarterfinals, you do have some of these matchups to where, I mean, you're seeing some really good plays. I'm not downscaling what Chubby Atletico have done so far, but it's just,
right.
In that match of where we saw the Ambergesa Stevsy matchup, now we see something that it should be a lot easier for Stealth and Revsy in comparison to the best team in the tournament.
Yeah, now, as they are theoretically the best team left, outside of some surprising factor from one of the others that are still remaining in the conversation, this is just a really good opportunity for Stevzy as well, just to showcase not only that they are a good team, but I think there's also a narrative that we drive like probably far too often with the Top Cougars, in the sense that, like, look at Top Cougars, look at every team Smokes has put together and how good Smokes is doing at recruiting players and finding good talent and creating good rosters on the Top Cougar squad. And now you got Stealth, who's played on with Kieran, who played on with Top Cougars, and you got Revsy, who played on with Kieran. Like, this, it all just links back to Top Cougars, and maybe there's too much credit given to that. Maybe this is just two really good players that are making their own storyline and paving their own way to creating something here in this IATL Open, saying that they are capable of winning without the assistance of anyone related to the Top Cougars story.
I mean, Top Cougars A, B, and C team could probably beat almost every team we've ever seen in this tournament. So,
Probably
yeah, Top
true.
Cougars definitely know, they have a good friend group over there, knowing a lot of the good players in the scene. Most of the time when we saw Smokes, he was with a new teammate that was like top 100 on PS4, or like just some crazy guy like Kieran who we didn't know who he was, and then he came in and started destroying everybody. There, Smokes is going to find a teammates, that's for sure, but, you know, I'm not going to cap out in his skills. Of course, he's a great player. And speaking of great players, Revsy going to find a nice pass from Stealth on his 7th shot of the game to find their third goal here. And Stealth with just a really nice redirect, and Revsy obviously with the speed just outpaces them on the other side, and that puts them up 3-0 in this first game, which Stevzy looked to try and have an easy access and point into the semifinals today.
Yeah, and the way that it's going here through game number 1, I mean, a little slow going off of the break, but being able to get at least the first goal about 90 seconds in, and since then pour on a couple more and really not give up a whole lot on the defensive front. There's been, you know, 1 or 2 opportunities that Chubby Athletico's had to go the other way and you try to put something on the board, but for the time being, the fact that they still hold the goose egg under a minute to play is really reassuring for the Stevzy side of the field and what they can do to go into game number 2, because at this point, I think it's all but written that game 1 is over to Stevzy, and now Chubby Atletico's got to find a way to come back in game 2.
Yeah, they have to figure out what they can do to obviously this one's probably out of the mix, but going forward in this second game, you do have to figure out what is going to be that case. I mean, it's a lot on the line still, obviously, just to get into the semifinals. I mean, you want to just be in the top 4. Top 4 has a chance. Obviously, top 3 qualify, I believe, from this qualifier. So, you know, even that third place matchup's really important. You don't get money directly for this qualifier, but you do get a potential qualification spot into the finals, which is even more important than, obviously, you know, just that $100 up top. And that is going to be the end of game number 1 from Stevzy, as they connect on a couple really nice plays and just keep their lead, play a really strong defensive game, and keep the shutout against Chubby Atletico to continue their streak towards those semifinals, in which Frioles Yeater is their opponent waiting for them in the semis, and Mighty P and Serendipity on the other side of the bracket. But let's go take a look at the replays of the first game. All of these teams waiting on this matchup to see who is going to make it to that other semifinals. We are just as excited too. I mean, we want to see if Stevzy can continue this streak, especially after beating the very best team in the tournament. Of course, these replays powered by Microsoft ATL. And, I mean, just some incredible plays, some even better saves on both sides of the field. Leads Stevzy, though, into a first-game lead in this best of 3. And they just have to keep up the same pace. I mean, they played a really strong defensive game. Still got a couple of really good plays on the mix in the offense, but it's all you really need. You could win a game 1-0, obviously, and just be comfortable with that win.
Yeah, just as long as you got more points when the clock hits 0, that's theoretically all you need to win the game. And I think that they do a pretty good job at doing that, regardless of who else is on the roster, who else is on the team that they're playing against. And I think the fact that they get a 3-0 victory there not only is reassuring for them and their comfort level in this matchup, but also them moving forward and saying, okay, you know, yes, we beat Ambergay, so yes, we feel a little bit better about that. But, you know, that wasn't just a one-off, not a fluke. You know, they are a good team, and they can handle any competition that gets thrown at them. So there's a way that they can be able to just maneuver themselves, as you said, with an easy access point into the semifinals, where this is the last spot to be taken here. And Stevzy, I'm sure they want to get that business taken care of here and now.
Yeah, and of course, this is that server switch, but it doesn't matter. When Revsy just continues that, I was surprised to even score from that angle. but Revsy just gets a really nice challenge and somehow just keeps that going and is able to slot that win in. Even if he didn't, Stealth was there easily to score that one as well. So Stevia off with another early start in game number 2. And of course, this is switched over to the NA server, so theoretically, Chubby Atletico does have that small advantage, at least ping-wise, in this game, but it doesn't mean that Revsy and Stealth will slow down any much more than they did on their home servers on EU. And I saw they had 112 ping. Whenever I play Rocket League, even on US East, I get like 95. So they're playing from Europe and still have better ping than I might have on my own servers. So it's rough out here.
Yeah, but there's something about the fact that they talk about the internet from NA to NA East to like EU is better than NA West to NA East because the landlines that go under the ocean are actually higher quality, or like it's
crazy?
Dumb that the international infrastructure is better than our domestic infrastructure, but that's a whole different subject matter that I am not going to spiral into because it's very easy to trigger me onto that.
Yeah, especially when you live in Las Vegas and have to deal with Cox Communications. But in this second game, Stevsy doesn't have to deal with that. They just want to deal with making themselves advance in the semifinals, and that's a perfect way to do so as Revsy finds a second goal and puts him back within reach of going to the semifinals here once again with another solid lead to start this game. Just a simple put back from Revsy there. Stealth with another good pass, and Revsy with even better positioning. As per usual, that's kind of been the case so far we've seen in this these few games. The Stealth has a good chance or good pass, and Revsy's just immediately there for the follow-up. And pretty difficult to follow that up when you have two great offensive players, offensive minds in your team. Stealth there for the defensive block as well. In a minute and 30 seconds, it'd be very nice for Chubby Atletico to try and find an access point in, but great touch from Stealth. Stops outward shots and getting anywhere near that.
It's even more difficult on the other side because they keep doing stuff like that where Stealth, in a one-on-one situation, either one of those players, Stealth or Revsy, have the potential just to put that ball in the back of the net or to just leave it hanging for your teammates on the follow. And they are just so well in sync to take the first defender out of the equation, leave it a one-on-none situation for the follow-up to get that goal scored. But not only is the problem as you're talking about with, what Chubby Atletico is trying to do on the offensive front to try to score, but they're just trying to score in this series. I mean, it was a 3-0 in the first game. They've yet to score a goal, period.com, in this entire series. So they got to find something to break this ice. And at this point, it's just like a mental block that I'm sure is just so difficult to get over because it feels like nothing you're doing is working against this Stevsy squad. And there's just no answer here. But they finally find the answer. They finally get a nice little pitch and catch off the backboard just outside the post. And after that challenge there, Stealth just had an awkward touch. Revsy caught in the corner snoozing, leaves the defense out of position. They get their first goal.
And yeah, it's their first goal, but they're still down 2 in this series, so not exactly the situation they'd still like to be at. That was almost a mistake coming out from Revsy, but not capitalized on too swiftly, so still a chance here for Chubby Atletico, especially with half the game time still left on the clock for them trying to get back in the second game here of the quarterfinals. Revsy with a nice demo is going to stop Stormy from continuing with that one. He's going to go ahead and get that boost in the backfield and should just be able to carry this one to the other side of the field now. Good air dribbling from Revsy. Stealth just waiting on his second touch. Nice, powerful shot on the landing down, but Stormy was there and waiting. Stealth with a great touch as well, going backwards, trying to redirect that one. And Revsy's still able to control that one. Zero boost, though, not going to help in that situation. Absolute boom downfield for Stealth to deal with, but didn't really have to deal with too much. Stealth goes flying. Revsy goes for boost. That could be a dangerous spot. That's kind of greedy from Revsy. Okay. Going for a boost there. Gives him time to make a passing play. Great pass, of course, from Stormy to even find this initial pass.
Yeah, just being able to play very patiently there at midfield. Recognize that the defense over commitment, like you said, very greedy on that challenge there, and just the other one just spinning in circles there in the corner. So just understanding that this is an open chance, all you gotta do is just put the pass on target, which they're able to do. So now all of a sudden the 3-0 scoreline goes down to a 3-2, and just like we can't count Ambergesa out, it seems like we can't count Chubby Atletico out either because they have come storming back in this one with a minute and a half to play.
And it looks just stronger and stronger each time that they come back on the ball as we see if they can get this comeback to be a real thing. With 3-2 on the scoreline, Stevzy just need to play the defensive game that we saw them play so well in the first one. With that being said, we've seen a couple whiffs on both sides, and definitely more so for Revsy and Stealth that I'm sure they're used to. Initial shot gets taken away, and Stealth is just going to boom that one downfield. And that one actually goes past and in. An incredible shot from Stealth that I'm sure was just a clearance, but the angle of that one getting right to the farthest post that Stormy couldn't get to and in.
Just looked like it was trying to give them just a breath to be able to survive there on that other side. But yeah, just able to sneak that inside the post, and the third man coming in clutch one more time here today at least. And under a minute to play now, a 2-goal lead once again for Stevzy. Got to be at least a sigh of relief, and that's why we talk about Revsy's capability as an individual player. Doesn't matter how many defenders you put in front of him. Doesn't matter if there's 1, 0, or 2. Revsy's going to be able to find this angle, good control, keep the ball close enough on the flip reset to get that extra little bit of boost and give them the 3-goal lead. It's almost as if nothing ever happened. They can just completely ignore the 2 goals they gave up.
Yeah, now they have way too much of a lead, I think, that is capable of coming back from, as Stevzy is going to just continue this lead. I mean, they're a very good team. You don't expect them to kind of derail too much at this point. So. That is incredible, though, as we see a 6-goal go in, and Revsy once again just keep firing on the mark. And Stevzy just look to continue their streak. I mean, they at this point seem like the best team in the tournament, but I mean, like you said, Mighty P looked so good, so I'm really intrigued to see if they can handle that as well.
Yeah, I'd be very keen to see that matchup between Stevzy and Mighty P, and how they can fare in that one. But I mean, looking at Revsy, like right now, 5 goals and 9 shots and 1,000 points, like that's an absurd stat line that Revsy just put up here in this game. And all the assists coming here from Stealth, just trying to get closer to that 1,000-point threshold as well. But just comparatively speaking on the scoreboard, just absolute domination here from the Stevzy squad and what they were able to do. Stormy gets a shot on, and that's actually going to go in following the demo there at midfield. So they get one back here at garbage time, but just too little too late at that point. And that was the last line of defense that just exploded in your face. So it's something that I can go for. And just, happy birthday. What a great celebration.
Yes, happy birthday. Unfortunately, you're getting kicked out of the tournament, though, Chubby Atletico. So, I mean, they almost find another one, but obviously way too far down now. Nice finish there from, I couldn't see who that was. I think it was Stealth there in the air. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. And Stealth with a great finish. Oh, sorry, it was Revsy. I can't. I gotta make sure we get the right player on the own goal here.
Right.
Revsy with a fantastic finish. Nonetheless,
6 goals.
Yeah, a lot. There's a lot of offense that game, which is surprising, but that does advance him to the semifinals. And of course, in a very convincing fashion, that second game, they looked it was very close. And then suddenly they just opened it wide up. And that's something we've seen in something like Top Cougars game, where it's like, it's a really close game. And then suddenly they explode for 3 or 4 goals. Let's go and take a look at the series replays, of course, powered by Microsoft ATL, though. See exactly how Stevzy made it to the semifinals in the first place.
Yeah, just a really good performance there in game number 1, where it's a slow start, but it's just a matter of, kind of getting understanding for what their opponents are going to do and how they're going to play, and, find their weaknesses. And at that point, just execute to your strengths, which they did to get the initial goal, just to play it off the backboard, just beating the lone defender, which I think was a problem that Chubby Atletico did, is that they isolated themselves a lot, and they left it wide open for Stealth and Revsy to just play off a little 1-2 pass, or just take a solo play, because they're both individually incredibly talented. But the fact that you have an option to do a solo play or just to lay it off your opponent, where for your teammate, because there's only one opponent in front of you, I think makes it far too easy for Stevzy.
Yeah, I do too. And obviously with their capability, once you give them this many openings, they're just going to constantly keep scoring, keep finding ways back into each game if they ever did fall down, which I don't think they really were at a deficit through most of that series, if at all. So they were constantly able to keep it up. And we did see, like I said, a couple of whiffs and a little bit of greed right here, specifically from Revsy, trying to go for the corner boost, which led it into a close game initially, put it at that 3-2 standpoint. And then just an absolute rocket from Stealth, perfectly placed in the right, bottom right corner. And you know, with this, like we said, the solo play skill from Revsy and Stealth, it's really difficult to try and match them on goals because they're just fast and they know how to play and they know how to hit each other when they need to. And then, of course, advance them to the semifinals. But our first semifinals matchup will be Serendipity versus Mighty P, a NA matchup. So an all NA potential grand final here. I think if Frioles is also from NA, but nonetheless, we finally have some NA representation in the finals, which has been a minute since we've seen that.
Yeah, Misty even said that they were going to come in to represent NA for him. So yeah, shout out to Misty, obviously coming in clutch and following up with that as well. Just
Yeah.
true to your word. But Misty and Gamma, looked really good. We saw a few glimpses of them in that top 10 segment at the top of the show. But they just looked really solid in last week's performance. Unfortunately, they would find their matchup against top Cougars that would knock them out of the bracket. But now they got themselves to the semifinals. And as you said, this is a winning you're in situation, right? Because every other team that has already qualified, it was one team, by the way, it was Ambergesa, has been
Yep.
knocked out of this one. So it's literally just you win, take it to the grand finals at the end of the month. So just got to be riding this wave of confidence here for both sides. And also on the other side, to look at Serendipity, another team that we really haven't seen, as we've had hundreds of unique teams register and play in our community open. I'm excited to see if Serendipity is going to be another one that plays a spoiler surprise.
Yeah, and you can already see that, I mean, clearly deserve to be here as they have made it to the top 4 already, so they just have to be able to match the pace, though, and as of now, Gamma and Missy are going to connect for an early score. Mighty P look to try and keep themselves on top here as Gamma finds a very, very nice redirect and right below the defending side there of the defending player on Serendipity. So, I mean, we already talked about them. Mighty P, that is couple top 10 plays from last week. Looked good, couldn't quite find the finish they want. Now they have a huge chance to do so considering Amber Gates is out and Stebsy's on the other side of the bracket.
Yeah, I would love to see them step up to take advantage of this situation. And, 35 seconds in with the goal up, got to feel pretty good about that. But kind of interesting to see the amount of aggressiveness coming from the Serendipity side and see if they can find anything to come through with that one, or if the Mighty P answer is going to be enough. Gamma almost gets that one, but the framework doesn't play friend this time around and sends it back the other way. So now the try to challenge at midfield will go by. Gamma is going to be able to pick this back up. Loses the challenge in aerial, though. Missy will catch this one relatively easily in the box, but does not want to give that one up to an opponent, as Hazy's going to come in with the touch off the backward potential, misses out. So a couple opportunities back and forth here so far for both squads. The only one that really came through was the lone on Gamma. Besides that, it's just been a lot of really good midfield play, which I think is going to dictate who's going to come out on top in this series as to who wins those midfield battles.
Yeah, a lot of those early challenges is what we saw happen so much, and why Stebsy looked so good against Ambergesa was they constantly able to stop them from creating anything, and that's kind of the key play to do so, especially if you're Serendipity at this point. You just don't want Misty and Gamma to start creating something, because clearly they have the skill level, both the Supersonic Legend rank or of that same skills. So these guys are very good, top like 0.5% players or something like that, whatever Supersonic Legend is, but they're very good, and they showcase why they're so good in multiple weeks now, and this is their week. I'm sure that they want to really try and take this away going into the semifinals here, and from an angle like that, pretty difficult to stop someone from scoring. Misty being able to slot that one past the defender on Serendipity. These kind of angles are so crazy to me that you can find a way to slot that ball still into the back of the net.
Yeah, just such a tough angle to follow and follow the wall all the way around. Not only that, but just to be able to then get enough of a touch on it. But then once you do get around uninterrupted, it's up close and personal. All you got to do is just a little bit of a side flip in to be able to redirect the ball. And the defender, he has to challenge early because they have to be able to pinch that out of the near post, and it's going to be so difficult. AZ's redirect almost actually sneaks inside that upright to give an unfortunate own goal, but we'll keep that out. Misty tries another really tough angle there from that corner spot, but that one does go wide here. So we're past the halfway point with a 2-goal lead for Mighty P in this semifinals matchup. Gamma's put back again, denied by the framework, and obviously it looks like Crossbar is just not a friend of the Mighty P team.
Yeah, and we've seen it be a friend and be a foe of a few teams in this tournament so far, and as of right now, Gamma's just flip reset after flip reset trying to bring this one down the field. kind of difficult to stop him from doing so if he's just on the loose, being an absolute menace to society. Ball gets away from Hazy, though, not being able to control that one. So back to Marty here to try and stop this from being pushed up towards the back of their net. Good initial challenge, but lands right to Misty, who I think wanted to try and find Gamma right there. You saw his kind of positioning. Nice bump, but Gamma not in position to follow that bump up. But you can see Misty's got some good ideas. Just needs Gamma to be on the same page, and suddenly they can find a third. Great initial stop, but just dribbles right in. Marty finds Serendipity to go back.
Just able to sneak that one on. As you said, that initial save put just a hint of backspin on it on that deflection, and just couldn't quite get enough contact on. Able to get the full deflection, the full save out of that. So does go through 2-1 scoreline, under a minute and a half to play in game number 1. Looking to see what they can find here, if they're going to be able to get another one, if Serendipity can even this up, or if Mighty P is going to be able to take this early 1-game lead. Still a best of 3 here in the semifinals. That best of 5 does not kick in until the finals, so still just as much pressure if you do drop that game 1 here in this series.
Yeah, still plenty of time, still in this one to see who is going to have that lead going into the rest of the series. Gamma with a little bit of bump on his teammate. Potential chance here. I think if Misty didn't get bumped, right, or they didn't bump each other, I guess, that could have been a potential chance there for them to score. Gamma pre-jumps, misses, and Misty's not expecting him to miss, so Serendipity finds basically a free goal.
Very intriguing in the sense that it just goes wide, and Gamma's attempt there was there, and I think on the other front, you just expected your teammate to get it, so Misty didn't even jump, and was hoping that Gamma was going to have enough on to be able to stop that. So instead we get the equalizer, and now all of a sudden momentum to go the other way. The demo there in front of the net, dangerous, but not going to get much after that shot on. Misty still controlling this one. Good challenge to win this 50, but doesn't have any boost to work with. Instead will lose possession, and Gamma's going to take the 90 boost plus that full 100 at midfield to start to turn this ball around. Start to go the other way. Does get around the defender, but not enough to set this up. Now wait for the reset of your teammate to come back through, but not enough boost available at the time. Instead it goes through, but 12 seconds left, tie game. Think they're going to do it?
I think there's a chance if Gamma can get this downfield. It is a 2-versus-1 kind of scenario. Missy's in an awkward spot, though, and they just get that one off the backboard. Good bump initially, though, but you see that player's going to be there on the way out. So going into overtime, we shall in the first game of the semifinals. And we see if Gamma and Misty can start off the first game strong, or if Serendipity had a pretty strong comeback, then we'll get back in this one. Good flick past one, gets in the top right corner, not in. Gamma finds it on the crossbar, and they can't find the goal they need to get them out of overtime. And game 1 still in the books. Never mind. Write it down for Mighty P as Misty is able to slot that one into a pretty open net on that side of the field. Both players trying to commit, trying to stop Gamma. And game 1 goes to Mighty P in this first best of 3 semifinals here. Very, very impressive game from both teams, but there's obviously a couple of lapses on defense. We saw specific for for Misty and Gamma to even get that into overtime. So let's go and take a look at the replays powered by Microsoft ATL and kind of pinpoint those areas, because it was a very back and forth game, yes, but should this have gone into overtime in the first place? Probably not.
Right. Yeah, the amount of shots they had go off the framework, not only even regular time, but they had 2 go off there in extra time, and it was like a 17-second overtime. So like it wasn't even that much time that they spent there. They still had 2 shots go off the post and the crossbar. So unfortunate that just didn't have that kind of friendliness there in the game. As you see one of them right there, it should have been 3 or 4 goals in regular time that would have given Mighty P outright the victory. Instead they have to take a little bit of extra time there in that overtime, and even still, just a slight breakdown on the defense, a very quick counterattack. Serendipity did a really good job to recognize the faults on the defense in that front, but then on the other one, it was just a swing and a miss the other side. But yeah, 18 seconds in, that's all it took. Misty finally got the putback, finally got the goal scored inside the framework. Didn't even have to worry about it that time around.
Yeah, it just looked like a really solid game from Mighty P there, too. until the very end, they were able to find a good way to finish that game into the overtime, of course, and then just had a very easy shot, obviously, from the initial one that they had from Gamma. So, yes, of course, game number 1 going in their favor, and we'll get into game number 2 here shortly. See who's going to be our first team to get into the grand finals. Potential for it to be Mighty P right now. We'll see if that is going to be them in this second game as we join up. Gamma and Missy definitely looked really good in that first game. Like I said, that one small lapse of Gamma missing the ball, Missy not being ready, led them into overtime initially. So if they can just continue to play their style, try and play for the demos we saw a little bit of earlier on in that game, they can make a lot more chances for this game.
Yeah, excited to see if they can make those chances. They can execute on that. On the other side, looking for, I guess, both these teams to really execute better on the opportunities that they do have, because we've seen Serendipity as good recognition of, when the defense falters and how they can get around this one. But on the other side, Mighty P's just able to put themselves in position. They just have to be just a little bit more, just ever so slightly pinpoint accurate with the shots on, because obviously the post and the crossbar not giving them any assistance here today. And if they can, on both sides, kind of button down the hatches a little bit more, and I think they're going to fare a lot better. But this is just still going to be such a good game, such a good series, but obviously that much more important for Serendipity, who really want to be able to win this one to send it to the game 3.
And with just about a minute gone, nothing crazy to take home to your parents as far as how this game has gone. Gamma with a decent challenge in the midfield, but Marty is going to take this one back towards Misty. Misty with, I believe, that full boost now going to get refilled in midfield. Has a chance here to bring this one off the side. Gets it past one. Doesn't find the pinch I think he was looking for. Gamma almost put in a really dangerous situation, but smart turn from Misty to get that challenge. Gives Gamma a little bit of time, like I was saying earlier. When your teammate gets bumped, give them some time to recollect themselves, get some boost, and try and get back towards net. Gamma's done just that, and Gamma's found the first goal of the game.
And that's enough there, almost 2 minutes in, and just being able to get that first blood strike is so important here for Mighty P, just because they want to make sure they get this. Another tough angle, keeping it from top down, but not only top down, but the momentum of the ball actually carrying even further upwards. So very difficult shot, and it seems like Gamma and Misty, when they need to, can get that done, and almost had another opportunity there with a shot, but instead gets a little bit of a deflection, a bump and run in the corner, gets demoed as well, punished for taking that back boost, and instead now going to wait for the respawn to come through and see if Gamma and Misty can continue this attack, but it seems like it'll fizzle for the time being.
And a very stale game besides that first goal that we've seen. I mean, we have a chance here potentially being created by Gamma. He gets past one, has a chance here for Misty, and Misty finds a goal. As soon as I say it, you can see that play developing. That's why you need to have a challenge early, probably onto Gamma right here, which you saw Marty tried, but went a little bit flying. So if that challenge goes through, that goal gets completely wiped. But that does mean that Mighty P leads the game, leads the series now 2-0 in this game. They just need to play a defensive game from here on out, which I'm sure they're not going to do, but they just need to relax at this point, and they should host to the grand finals of qualifier number 2, and which tick on just about halfway through this game. See Gamma pre-jumping already, and Misty just going way out of pocket here. Huge lapse of defense as both of them just, I'm not really sure, right? I can't really defend them here. Both of them just kind of get caught lacking, and Gamma goes for a pre-jump. Misty does the exact same, and it's an easy goal for Serendipity.
Yeah, just one of those things. Again, the defense just kind of breaks down there, just recognizing. That's why Serendipity, again, just realizing the defense isn't there. So there's just an easy opportunity for them to get this and take it back to a 1 goal. And this is exactly where we were in the last game. Now, Mighty P just has to recognize that they can't do exactly what happened the last time around. They have to get a little more creative on the offensive front to try to get some more opportunities, because they haven't had as much. I mean, they spent the time on this side of the field, but they haven't had as many shot chances that have really gone to anything that would work that well. I mean, bumps and demos have kind of disrupted their offensive attack enough that Mighty P is looking a little worse for wear in this game, comparatively speaking.
And Mighty P with barring any mistakes, barring a really good shot as well, just have to maintain this lead. But we've already seen a couple of crucial defensive mistakes that have put them in kind of dire situations. So they've got to be careful not to overcommit. Like right now, could have been a chance and would have been a chance, but Misty just carries that one forward. Somehow still able to continue that run after the initial touch. You see a decent enough fake, not sure if intended or not, but Gamma gets a nice air dribble. Another good save once again from Hazy. As Serendipity really is trying to keep themselves in this game, of course. Another weird angle from Misty. Doesn't score it this time around. And Gamma's going to challenge at midfield. A wide open net. Really weak shot, though. I don't think Gamma was expecting to kind of fall out of net there. So Gamma not scoring that one. Misty going to take that away from him, try and get the angle. But this does just mean that Gamma and Misty once again in a decent spot here with 45 seconds left to get another goal. Oh, right off the crossbar, not in though. Still a chance here for Serendipity to come back in this game.
Yeah, and now again, just Mighty P just has to be ever so slightly more accurate, which is really weird to say because we've seen Misty take an incredibly difficult angled shot. Gamma did the exact same thing, super hard angles that they're able to hit these shots from. But when it comes to a relatively simple, comparatively, 1-2 pass play with the shot on, they just can't get those to connect, and they just go off the framework ever so slightly, like they're just not quite ready for those shot opportunities. But down to single digits here, Mighty P holding on to this lead. They're on the right side of the field as well, just in a spot where they're trying to hold one more second. Zero's on the board now. If it doesn't go through, it will be Mighty P advancing here into the finals. But the ball is still alive, ball still in the air. He keeps it on the side. That's a shot on target. That ball's going in the back of the net. If it's not, zeros on the clock. Instead, it's a 2-1 victory and a 2-0 victory for Mighty P, as they will look pretty good in their opening series that we see here today on stream.
Yeah, some very close games nonetheless, but obviously still won. Let's go ahead and take a look at the series replays powered by Microsoft ATL and see how Mighty P won that 2-0 series. Of course, a very good start. Brought it into overtime just barely at the end. After, I mean, the one thing that can be said for Mighty P so far is they made a couple of defensive lapses, and it's costed them quite a bit. I mean, costed them the tying goal potentially in the second game. Well, it was 2-1 at that point, but you give the other team hope, and you don't want to do that when you're in the best of 3 in the semifinals. You want to make sure you lock down on defense, and obviously in this first game, their second goal they gave up was off of the double commit as well, and ended up bringing them to overtime. Luckily, they still won, but it does show you that even a couple of very small mistakes can lead to some big changes in the game, and they have to be careful of that, especially going to the grand finals.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for them to, if they continue to have these small little mistakes, especially if theoretically they're against a team like Stefzi, who's going to punish you every single time for that. And, you know, we've seen the opportunity that Stealth and Revzy can set up in a chance like that. And if you leave them one-on-one, two-on-one, then it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to win any games, especially if your shots really aren't on target, if you're bouncing off the framework all the time. But watching to see what can happen from this one. Obviously, we still have to watch Stefzi play, still assuming that they do put themselves in a position to get to the finals, because that's a large assumption still right now, because we haven't seen their opponents play. We haven't seen Frijoles yet at all. So there's a chance here that there is another surprise spoiler that's lurking in the bracket. But Mighty P, with their advancement, also get the advancement to the grand finals after the end of the month.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the fun part of the tournament where we see a new name in the semifinals and we're like, does this team deserve to be at the top of the leaderboard here with the rest of these teams? And we'll see how that does play out, of course, in the series against Stefzi, who at this point is at the #1 seed now. At this point, let's go and take a look at the bracket, see how everything has developed. Of course, off of that semifinals, Mighty P has advanced themselves to the grand finals, and they are just awaiting on this semifinal matchup with Stefzi and Frijoles Yeater. And we'll see, of course, if Stefzi can continue that momentum off of the Hamburguesa game, because obviously huge momentum from that. Then they took Chubby Atletico down in, I wouldn't say an easy fashion, but a 2-0 fashion nonetheless. And now they advance themselves to semifinals, in which they've probably already faced the best team in the tournament. They just have to play up to the top of their skill level like they did against Hamburguesa, and they should be able to advance themselves to grand finals.
Yeah, you would think the expectation right now should be that Stefzi would be the team to advance, because like you said, to be the best, you got to beat the best, and they did that. So now Stevzy should be the team that's favored to move on here, and I'm excited to see if they are going to live up to that expectation because frankly, we put a lot of pressure on teams like that. We see top Cougars and Hamburguesa show up every month, every week, and we're like, okay, this team's here. We'll see you in the top 4. Like, it's just one of those inherent expectations, and anything less than that is almost a failure of sorts. It's like they've set up their own dynasty here in the Community Open, and if they don't perform to expectation, then it's like, okay, well, something's just off. Is this the end of top Cougars? Is this, the overreaction that we need to be able to just call it like this? But, the fact that Mighty P's got themselves into this, I think they're starting to live up to the expectations that I laid out for them, no pressure, whatever. They have made it to the grand finals. They've got it to the grand finals at the end of the month as well. But now it's just a matter of, is this the beginning of a new dynasty? Is this the end of the New England Patriots and the start of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Like, this is a potential turning point here, and it's something that I love to see.
Yeah, exactly. You want to see if they can continue that momentum, win a Super Bowl, maybe win the finals of this month, and we'll see if that's going to be the case. As we just try and get this lobby set up, I believe just wait on a couple of players. I think it's NAEU, so they're trying to figure out everything as far as that goes. But Stevzy looks to be a great team going into the grand finals. Well, I say going into the grand finals. I won't put them in the grand finals just yet, but we know Stevzy's a very good team. And as far as my predictions go, it's probably them going and advancing into the grand finals. And from a quick update, it looks like we are just waiting on this other semifinal to finish. They have started. I think they're in the second game already. So
Yep.
We'll keep you guys updated as how that goes. I believe Stevzy won first game. I was not 100% sure if I heard that correctly, but that's my assumption. And
Yep.
and I'm just correct all the time. I'm just the smartest man in the world. So that is Stevzy.
Mhm.
That one. Yeah, don't talk to me if you don't know. Stevzy is winning in that series and tries to advance themselves to the finals here.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't name one time you've ever been correct about anything.
Just
So
then, right now.
no,
So
that hardly counts. You hardly get credit. You get like
I
partial credit for
disagree.
that. Like, you put your name
I
on the
think,
test, and that's about all that you did. So good
but I
job.
was on the
You did
test,
that much.
and I 100% of the
And
test. Might not have
whatever
known
makes you
how
feel
I got
better.
the answer, but I got the answer right.
It
It
definitely
doesn't.
wasn't anyone behind the
If this
scenes
is a
telling
test
us.
that is on the work instead of the answer, I'd probably be failing. But because it was based on the
Yeah,
answer,
yeah.
nonetheless, we're gonna wait to see how the semifinals goes. We'll see you guys in the grand finals after a quick break. Do not go anywhere. We'll see who Mighty P is gonna face up. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the second qualifier here for the month of September for IATL Rocket League. My name, of course, Troy Pibb Welling. Next to me, Trevor Confused Caribou McNeil. And we are back for the finals now as Stevzy went and just 2-0'd Frioles for us. And off camera, advanced themselves to the finals as expected. Stevzy kind of took a quick fashion of that one, though, and look to win everything today. I mean, that's when you beat Amber Gase in the third round. That's kind of the main goal, right? You take the best team out of the tournament. Let's take a look at the bracket as we talk about it. Obviously, in this part of the bracket, you don't even see them taking out the best team in the tournament. So Stevzy's had quite a bit of ways to get here. Same with Mighty P. I'm not going to discount them, of course, at all, but it's been a very difficult side of the bracket for both sides. And now we go to a very fun matchup here in the grand finals, which is going to be a best of 5.
Yeah, and I'm excited with the adjustment now because Mighty P, obviously, last week in their qualifier, I think it was Top Cougars that they lost out to. And Top Cougars consisting of Smokes and Toxic, because there was also Cougars R Us, that was Kieran and Revsy in that tournament as well, or in that bracket last week. So it was a lot of Cougars that was going on in the top 4 right there. But yeah, with Mighty P losing out to Top Cougars there, Smokes and Toxic have won an absurd amount. And the fact that Mighty P, yeah, honestly, they looked relatively impressive enough against that squad. That's like, okay, this is a team that's another one of those fringe teams, I think. You know, they're not quite at that point where it's like, this is a team every week for sure. They're top 4 or they're making the finals. But like, they're a team that, you know, in the right circumstances, in the right situation, that they are going to be able to capitalize on that, as we have seen that they have proven here today. And I'm excited that they've given themselves this opportunity for them to try to step up to beat this team that is Stevzy, that you're bringing in Revsy and Stealth, that are two teams or two players that have done very well in the history of all of our Atlantic Community Opens. And Mighty P, you know, as a fresh face, more or less speaking, because they've only been here last week, this is a great opportunity for them to step up and enter their name into the hat of the legendary players.
Yeah, and we'll see them on the top 10 last week, probably on the top 10 this next week as well. Going into the grand finals, I'm sure there are going to be some fantastic plays for both sides of the ball here for both teams, as we see if Mighty P can find the win in this first game, lead them in a series of, which is going to be a very difficult challenge, of course, against Stevzy. And I believe it is EU/NA, so it is going to be the switch of servers as well on top of that one. But we already know, I'm sure, Stevzy and Stevzy in general have good case to make on the NA servers. We'll see if Misty and Gamma can do the same on the EU side, because that's kind of the main point. We always kind of chalk it up as this game's on this server, it's their win. But right now, Stevzy starts the lead. Mighty P start the lead there against Stevzy on the blue side, as Misty's able to flick that one over.
Yeah, scoreboard just reflects the other way around. But yeah, Mighty P take that 1-0 lead as they're on the orange side. And yeah, very quick little bulldozer action right in front of the net where they're able to get in, get the goal, and an early accent where they're able to take this, I think, is right where they want to be, right where they need to start, because it's so important, especially if you are on quote-unquote host advantage, server advantage, whatever you want to call it, that you take the games on your home server. Because at that point, you can just know that you can win and can beat the other team, but it's just so difficult because the other team is Stealth and Revsy, that are two incredibly talented players, some of the best solo players as well. Being able to get this read off of the deflection from Gamma, Revsy just comes in and rockets that one in.
Yeah, that was like a fake flip reset into another fake flip reset on the other side. Some awkwardness in the back of the net, but leads immediately to Revsy, of course, being in the right position at the right time, scoring another goal there for the team. Stealth with a nice redirect. Unfortunately, not enough boost or speed for Revsy to get there in time, but Stealth with the redirects, a lot of pace here coming out from the balls he's playing so far. And Revsy barely has enough time for the boost to get that to get back in time, but no boost right now means he's gonna have to go fall back for this midfield boost, which Stealth took. So yeah, not a great position for Revsy here as he's stuck on 0 in the back of the net. Looks like he's able to get some boost pads and muster up a little bit to make that save. But a very back and forth game. A little bit of a overcommit from both teams there, but no punishment just yet on either side as Misty tries to play it low. Stealth reads it perfectly, gets him out of that situation.
Yeah, nice little give and take here. You know, the fact that they both got the goal and then kind of slowed down here a little bit, but Revsy on the putback, a good shot, it's on target, but Misty just in position Well, their rotations are pretty on point where they're covering their bases for the most part, and they're not really giving anything up on the other side. Good challenge by Misty here on this side of the field to open up an opportunity, but understanding that there was a defender on the approach, he had to go out and unfortunately disrupt that potential pass to Gamma. But now I think that they have themselves in a good position to try to play a one-off. The ball goes a little high, so the pass does not connect on that front, but they still, I think, have done a good job at understanding what Stevzy wants to do and how they're going to execute around the game plan that Stevzy has because of just the back and forth that we've seen from both of these teams.
Yeah, and it's all you're seeing right now in midfield especially. You have a overcommit on offense from potentially the likes, but just goes right over. It looks like Gamma might have been bumped or pushed away from that one. So no chance for them to make an easy save, but Stealth and Revezi back on the attack once again. Revezi with a decent chance here, flicks that up a little bit too high, so it becomes an easy save. And now we're going to see if Stealth can drop this one in onto net as Gamma makes a weird touch and a very fantastic save initially from Misty to be able to stop that scoring shot from the likes of Stevzy here. Still a very even game. And now we see Stealth on an air dribble. Missy trying to challenge, but a really great dribble from Stealth. Gets it almost in, but Gamma's got his back in net.
Yeah, able to just come back across and be able to get that one through, but able to understand, again, just kind of what the other team's trying to do. They're doing so good right here and just breaking down the other side and how long we've gone now. And to circle way back to the top of the show for all those that were still here at the time, it's just what can you do in the duration of these stalemates and how can you find a way to break down the defense on the other side? And so far, we haven't seen that. Misty's shot right there off the framework again, just to go back to last series' point, is they have to be just ever so slightly more accurate with their shots because the framework is doing no favors for them today. So just a lot of things coming full circle here that's relevant for this Mighty P squad and why they have yet to break this threshold, why they haven't got this go-ahead goal. On the other side, Stevzy, they just haven't got their setup. They've done so well to set each other up off of the 1-2s, off of the backboard passes. You just haven't seen that happen yet.
Good challenges from both teams have stopped a lot of the scoring as well, stopped a lot of the chance creation in that same mark. That's a really good challenge there, though, as Missy tries to awkwardly set that in, somehow was able to turn his car into an angle that he could even relish scoring in that situation. Missy with an awkward dribble there, couldn't actually get the initial touch, so has to reset himself. Revez is going to send that one towards net, but Gamma is there to make that stop. Now 20 seconds left in this first game. We have to see if either one of these teams can open up the scoring or if this first game leads straight into overtime. Great chance here, goes off the crossbar though. Revzy tries to get that one back in. Good toucher from Misty. No one's back in time. Stealthy is there to stop that, but it's still on this side of the field here as Misty has 100 boost, a lot to work with, but it lands on the ground and we go to overtime for game number one.
I think at that point just was expecting to see that they were going to continue to play that ball, so Misty just laid off it and instead drops to the ground and get a little bit of a reset here. We'll see if Stealth and Revzy on this attack are going to find some. That shot's on target, and very quickly, 11 seconds in, Revzy finally gets the help with the setup from Stealth, finally to come through after the kickoff. Just a little end around. Revzy shot on under the crossbar. That shot is accurate, and there is no framework needed in that conversation. They take game number one.
Yeah, in a very, very slight fashion. I mean, a 2-1 finish going into overtime means that there's a lot on the line for the rest of these games, that it is going to be extremely close and that you're going to have to work really hard because the challenges at midfield has been kind of the thing that I was highlighting and what has stopped a lot of the creation for both teams. As we take a look at the replays powered by Microsoft ATL for game number one, a lot of these challenges were stopped due to those, or a lot of these creations were challenged too early and didn't really get anything going. This was the very start of the game where Misty kind of had a good solo play, also had a pass if he wanted to. But you can see we had 2 goals in the first 45 seconds and then not a single goal till overtime. So, yeah, just some really hard defensive plays. And obviously the angle right there was insane for Misty to even have a chance at goal. But Stealth just carries this one back to the other side of the field and just leaves Revezi into a perfect spot to slot it and get that one ahead for Stevzy. First game in the series. I wasn't sure what server that was on, if that was on NA or U. Nonetheless, Stevzy still has the lead in this series. It is a best of 5, of course, so we're not just waiting on the second game to see who kind of takes everything. We still have another chance here. It looks like that was on the NA. I've been
Nope.
mixed up. It is NA to
EU.
EU or EU to NA. It was EU server to
EU to
NA
NA.
now. And
Yes.
which Stevzy should have won that. So it's a good thing they did. So now they go to NA servers, which even with 110-ish ping is not terrible. So should realistically still look okay on the NA side.
Yeah, just looking to see what the, I guess, adjustment's going to be. You know, how much is the ping actually going to be a problem for them? Like, is that a thing that's even warranted? Because, like, at the time when we break this conversation up, like, it literally does not matter at all. Like, it doesn't change
Right.
anything whatsoever because it affects one team significantly more than the other. But it's also usually a matchup that's like not grand finals. It's typically
Right.
a round 2, round 3 matchup where it's like, did the ping really even matter to begin with, anyways? But you know, in a series like this, like you said, you know, there's people that are looking to that play on the other server frequent enough that they're accustomed to it. It's not that big of a deal. So because of that, I don't expect to see a lot of ping impact on this one. There might be a
Yeah.
subtle comment here or there about it, but as we get into game number 2, we'll see if it does make a play or if we're going to see another 2-0 lead come out in this one. Of course, with the best of 5, that is the breaking point on that side. But all of a sudden, one more time, just like they did last time, Mighty P comes out striking early.
And Mighty P is exactly how they want to strike. Within the first 10 seconds, once again. Last time it was 20, so we're getting even shorter on getting that first goal of the game, in which they desperately need to win this one, of course. Try and equalize their series back up at 1-1 apiece and go back to the EU servers tied up. But that's going to be a pretty close open net, but Misty is there to stop that initial shot. Revezi's going to try and get that. What a fantastic redirect by Revezi, by the way, to be able to even get back in time to get that off the backboard. Gets past one, but I didn't even see Revezi there. I was like, the open net. Stealth is going to bully back here, though, as usual. Stealth just bullies the goalkeepers or the player on defense, or Revezi just takes it right in.
Yeah, at that point, just clear the way, pave the road, whatever you got to do, anything to put the ball in the back of net. So one more time, again, just like last time, 35 seconds in, we got a goal apiece. Are we going to see another 4.5 minutes of nothing, or are we going to be able to have something to give where we'll get at least our second goal in regular time here? And something tells me about this game, we're probably going to see a few more goals in regular time.
Yeah, I mean, we could have said that after the initial one, though. We didn't see a goal for the last 4 minutes, so, you know, it's
Also,
the same
yeah.
scenario, but with the capabilities of this team and the capabilities of Gamma, dropping that one in off of a wonderful double tap off the backboard here, you are going to expect a lot more goals to come through. Great pass from his teammate Misty, and then even better finish from Gamma right there to be able to drop that, even with a player on the backboard, right past them and get them the go-ahead goal once again. But that's just a kickoff goal. Yeah, there's nothing much. I was going to say you want to hope to hold this lead, but Stevzy on kickoff find a kind of limp ball here at midfield, and Revezi's immediately there for the score.
Yeah, just caught in the corner. Misty went to go get the boost to try to set up in time, but at that point, the commitment's already made. Too little, too late to that, so going to have to go back to the drawing board as we're back at an equalized score line. Minute into the game. And a dangerous position that they're in right now, but Revzi comes in from left field to be able to keep that out of the back of the net. No opportunity whatsoever. Now Revzi's going to take this over the top of the defense and take it into the upper 90. Able to do it all. Makes the save on the backside and takes it over the top where the defenders were not ready and gives the go-ahead goal to Stevzy.
Just barely had a chance to maybe stop that one, but went a little bit, or didn't go far enough to the right side of the goal, so ended up going back in net. Good clearance here from Stealth. Goes right to the car of Gamma, though, so Revezi there with a very nice challenge to stop that one. A potential chance here against Misty, though, and a musty flick in the top left. Does it go through? Almost an insane chance. I mean, it was an insane chance there from Revezi there, but an insanely close finish, and that would have been a huge goal in general for them to be up a second goal here in this game, which they've kind of just been equal most parts. It would be a very, very nice chance for them, but like you said, a lot of goals still to be expected in this one.
Yeah, just kind of the way that it's been going for them, and the feel that you get that they both kind of increase the pace, increase the tempo, and understand there's a little more pressure on the line here. Misty's trying to carry this one in, but it's just going to take this off, and now Stell's going to see if they can do anything with this. Instead, just pops it up here. Now, just like we saw on the other side, open the road and just lead it with the there's no way. Okay, the putback is good. I was about to say, there's no chance that the post denies you again on an open net. You see Misty in the background right there, pushing the keep out of the way. Gamma misses the first one, but gets the second one in, which is probably a more difficult shot somehow.
Yeah, right. Gets it past both defenders on a more difficult shot. Almost like kickoff goal back in return for Mighty P here. Nice challenge from Misty. Gets this one to drop right back towards net, and Stealth is there with no boost. Able to get that initial shot out, and then Revzy there immediately able to stop the second. But this is a very close game. Some really, like you said, a lot of goal scoring to entail still, it seems. We are 3-3, potentially 4-3, but nice stop there from Gamma. Means that Stealth has a chance here for a double tap, maybe even a triple tap off the backboard here. Doesn't have any boost though. So good challenge from Misty, stops his initial challenge. And Stealth now in a 1 versus 1, gets the 50-50 to go in favor, and gets the 50-50 of the game to now go back in their lead once again.
Yeah, really good 50 right there, just to basically with the broadside of the car be able to stop that. That's, you know, why you use that, because it's got like the longest hitbox car, and like it's not going to let anything like that. You're going to block the whole ball and not let it go any farther, which is exactly what happened. Just a full stop, let your teammate come in with the boost, be able to get that shot on Stealthier with the follow. Almost gets another one to give an insurance lead, but instead that goes off the post here. So Framework coming through one more time. Minute 50 to play here, and only that 1 goal lead. Of course, Stevzy up a game as well in this best of 5 series. So certainly feeling the pressure as it will start to build against Mighty P. And Stealth gets another shot, another goal. That's just an easy one off the backboard. And this insurance lead now is real confident building here for Stevzy.
Yeah, just awkward, I think. That was kind of probably an easy challenge there for the defending player, I think was Misty, back on defense, but just either didn't have the angle, didn't have the perception to realize that that was an easy chance there for Stealth. As a chance for Misty goes here. Nice flick over 1, but Stealth is there to stop that one once again. And you're seeing the constant rotations from both of these players on both teams. Shows why they're in the grand finals. I mean, they always have each other's backs whenever one of them misses or whenever one of them goes too far out. And it's really impressive to show how good these guys' rotations have been so far. Speaking of bad rotations, though, Revzy finds a 6th goal in this game for the team and finds a 3-goal lead in which they are trying to coast with now.
And this should theoretically be enough for them to coast with. I mean, 71 seconds to play. This should be okay as long as they just don't do anything crazy. And I think that looking at their team, you probably won't expect anything crazy to happen on or against the Stevzy side. I mean, it would take a lot for Mighty P to all of a sudden just amp it up again to 11 like they kind of did in their last game, their qualifier. Like, it is feasible. We've seen them do it where they just all of a sudden pour on the offensive power. But I think against an opponent like Stevzy, it's less likely to happen, and especially under a minute to play, when your shots just haven't been completely fully accurate, you're not quite winning these 50s or winning these challenges. It's just not helping your case at all. But Gamma with the backflip attempt at the shot does not get that to connect, so we'll hit the 30-second mark here and still a 3-goal score line. And this will be game number 2, more than likely over to Stevzy, looking to find their comeback now. And there's, you know, Cloud9 would put it, Mighty P's down 2-0. There's no way they come back from this series here.
There's no way, right? With 20 seconds left, the goal going in, Misty finds one back for the team. They're still down 2 goals, but a goal every 10 seconds, I think, is capable. We'll see if they are able to find the comeback or if Stevzy can shut them down here, bring it to a 2-0 series, and to try and just sweep them out in 3-0 fashion in the grand finals. Nice job from Gamma right there to be able to stop that. And with 10 seconds left, the dream's looking less. So Gamma gets it past 1 though, and now we're back within 1. 7 seconds here for Mighty P to try and make a comeback.
This is quite the interesting conundrum we put ourselves in here, where all of a sudden it is absolutely feasible. That one took 13 seconds, and if you factor in the amount of time that they just play around with the ball in the air after it hits zeros, there is very much a chance here. But Stealth's going to try to keep this one and just play it off to the teammate. And this is going to be a great opportunity here for them just to burn the clock, burn the time. You're going to catch it, just immediately knock it off, and this is not going to come through. So Stevzy will take this one. A single goal. Had a little catch in the breath there at the end, but they do come away with that game 2 victory to take the series to a 2-0 scoreline, which means all of a sudden now one more time, and they will be the qualifier number 2 champions. But on the other side, Mighty P's got to find an answer here and now.
Yeah, and they have to find an answer on the EU servers as well going into game 3. So we'll see if they can figure that one out, or if they can, even get back in the series. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replays, though, of the second game. Obviously, a huge goal-scoring fest. We kind of saw from the beginning that there's going to be a lot going on in this game, and that's exactly what had happened. It was very back and forth, as per usual. All starting off with the Stealth Revzy combo of just Stealth going to be an absolute menace in net, and then being able to get Revzy an easy goal, and then Gamma getting it back up in their favor off a really nice double touch. But not even 2 seconds later, once again, they just find an equalizer, and that's literally been the case of this series. Is the equalizer comes really quickly after. So as soon as you saw that much of a lead here for Stevzy, it kind of seemed like it was out of the hands. But like you said, hold your breath a little bit at the end of this one, because it got pretty close.
Yeah, and it just, I think it goes to show, both for Mighty P as well, that, they can hang with this team, which is a really good team that beat Hamburguesa. Like, they're right there on the precipice of this, but all of a sudden, just a few lapses where it goes from a 3-3 scoreline very quickly to a 6-3 is very concerning, because, what happened in that 20, 30, 40 seconds where all of a sudden they just gave up 3 goals. And if they figure that out and answer that question and then just don't do that instead, obviously, then it's going to be that much better for them here, because they almost made the comeback, right? And if you look at it in perspective of, what position they were in, if they don't give up those 3 goals, they only give up 1 in that time, then they scored 2 more. That's a 1-goal victory for them instead of the 1-goal loss.
Yeah, and so they just have to stop the bleeding. We talk about this every time we see someone like Top Cougars in the finals, is if you could just stop the bleeding as soon as they start scoring, you have a much easier chance of winning the game, because even if you're losing 2-0, 3-0, as long as they stop from that point on, you should be okay. If you can stop them to limit them to not just keep bleeding you out goal by goal, then you look better. And that's kind of where Stevzy's at right now, where especially in that game, they just started getting way too many goals for the other side, for the other team to even have a chance to coming back, which, they did. So I say that reluctantly, because they still have an easy chance. But Revzy here in an awkward 1v2 situation. Stealth gets back in time, but the 50-50 goes in favor of Stealth here, and Revzy should be able to get this one out of their side of the field. But a lot of early pressure so far in Mighty P in game number 3, in which they kind of need this early pressure.
Yeah, they do, but we've seen Mighty P do very well with scoring early, and that's kind of a thing that's really helped them out to stay in the conversation of this one, is that they get the first goal and they get it within the first 20, 30 seconds, and the fact that they haven't just got that yet, and now looking for the answer on the other side, it's just, they're that close to the position where it's one of those that, you would expect this, but Gamma now with an open net opportunity is going to get this, so they do get the first goal. It just takes another 45 seconds or so before they finally do it, and the defensive lapse there after a commit on this one, and Revzy just misses. Going to leave it wide open for Gamma to take it home.
Yeah, that looks like a little bit of ping diff, but I'm pretty sure they're back on their servers now, so if anything, that was just a weird thing to see. But nonetheless, they do go down in this game, which they've done so quite a few times in this series so far. So that's something that Stevzy's used to. They're not used to being the team that scores first. I mean, so far, the team that scores first has lost both games. And Stevzy's back at it once again, equalizing it 1-1 apiece, just off of the quickness from Revzy. I mean, Gamma not even expecting him to come back for that second touch, and he just gets that right into net for that equalizing goal. And now Gamma and Misty look to try and not be down once again. Every time they score the first goal, they haven't been able to maintain a lead, so that's what they need right now. Gamma has a good chance here, does so perfectly off the initial challenge from Revzy, and they have a lead for a little bit of time here.
And a great read right there on the backboard touch as well, just being able to put them in. But this is, again, just very reminiscent of how this series goes, right? Like, it's just always a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's just a matter of time before something's got to give. And Gamma, they finally find the angle that makes the framework work for them. He sneaks it inside the post. No bounce outside this time. So that gives them the insurance lead. 3:30 left to go. Finally see them get back-to-back goals. Keep Mighty P in the conversation.
You see a nice punch-off kickoff here. Another chance for Gamma and Misty to try and bring it back downfield, in which they have a 2-goal lead, which is their first time they've had a 2-goal lead in this series. And since we've watched them so far, I think, too. Awkward touch here from Misty, though, leaves it around midfield still for Stealth and Revezzi to try and capitalize, but Gamma back in net to stop that one. 3 minutes still left on the clock, so plenty of time for both teams to score more. But this is really good news if you're a Mighty P fan, because they have not yet had this kind of a lead going into the second half. Great demo once again, and Misty really tried to get back on defense there, but Stealth, being the menace he is, and Revezzi with the absolute insane ball control, made sure that he was able to maintain that dribble all the way to the other side of the field. Great demo from Stealth, like I said, and props to Misty to trying to get back in time.
On top of that, mad props to Revsy to like, for understanding your positioning, right? Because Stealth goes through to get that demolition, and at that point, there's only one player left on the field that's able to get in your way and stop
That's
this.
a goal.
Great approach, great attack here, but now Gamma's gonna have an open road the other way.
Got no boost.
Stealth with the comeback, though, at the boost to be able to stop that, so very fortunate that they don't now look for the counter. Played off the backboard. Revsy's going to come in from the top rope and get the equalizer. 3-3, 2:31 to play. But, I mean, to give credit where credit is due, like, they're doing insanely well, and a good back and forth on capitalizing on a counter attack for both sides there at the beginning. But that last goal scored prior to the second goal they scored, Revsy recognized there's one player on the field left that's able to block that shot, so he angles the car to be between where the defender is and where the ball is, so they have to hit him before they can hit the ball. And just such a small nuance, a small mechanic. It's just 2,000 IQ.
And something I wanted to point out on this kickoff is we finally, oh no, Misty with an incredible own goal to give the other team a lead here. This is not what Misty's looking at. I mean, that's just super unfortunate. Just, I think that second touch off of Stealth's car just got it onto the edge of Misty's, and that was just like the perfect situation for Stealth to not have the initial shot, but to just put it right where he needed to on the defender's car, and that puts him up in the lead again. I mean, we saw a 2-goal lead finally for Mighty P in this one, and now we're back into a Stevzy lead once again, who tried to just close this series off here in 3 games. Now would be the time to do so, but Gamma's not going to let it happen just yet. Misty should have an easy goal here. I'm not even sure where the defenders are. There's Stealth, but he goes flying way too far past it. And that's the tying goal back for Mighty P.
Mad respect there for the attempt. I mean, getting the demo, because, yeah, that should be a gimmick, but Stealth, at that point, the only thing you're going to go for is try to get the squishy save. But unfortunately, with the momentum that he had in the air, just spiked him straight to the back of the net, so there was nothing to bring him to loop it back around, able to get that squishy. I respect the effort. That's the attempt that should have been made, but just can't do it. Now they got tied ball game one more time. Minute and a half to play. They have to find an answer back here. If they want to finish this 3-0 sweep, Mighty P's got to find something on the other side, where their offense has looked significantly better in this game, as you can tell just by the score alone, because our first game was incredibly close, but Stealth is going to take advantage of that and just sneak that in off of the right post and give them a go-ahead one more time.
Yeah, that was just really well played at midfield from Stealth right there to get those couple of challenges in and to get that to actually go in his favor. I mean, he just got that in the right spot to where the defending player, I think was Gamma, couldn't actually have any chance. That one, that was an open net too. Stealth unexpectedly missing that one. And now putting in immediate dangers. That one's just in, I think. And that's definitely on Stealth. That should have been a goal for Stevzy here. But Misty is able to just carry this one out and just bring it all the way to the other side of the field. Stealth, not going to be too happy about that one, but Misty gets a little bit of favor back, a little bit of luck back in his favor here, as, you know, the own goal went his way. Now he gets something back for himself. Oh, what happened there?
Well, they went for the fake. and then they
Yeah,
didn't
faked
cover.
each other out.
Yeah, like I feel like if you're gonna go for that, you should at least, I don't know, just having an emergency backup plan just in case you leave an open net like that. But now back-to-back goals very quickly within 3 seconds of each other gives Mighty P the 1-goal lead here with under a minute to play now. We know that very quickly Stevzy can strike back. They just got to find their setup here. Awkward bounce there is going to lead this one towards midfield where Gamma's going to miss. You're going to see another miss. It's going to see a bounce, and it's going to be a slow roller in front. Misty can't get to it in time, though, as it does get cleared out to the side where Stealth takes control. Going to look for the center on the teammate, but gets taken away in time. And now with the demo on the backside, make it a 2. 1 for 1, going both ways. We'll pause this attack for the time being to pause. But 30 seconds to play. Here's a chance now with the defense just completely gone. Revsy with the steal gets the equalizer one more time, and we are not done yet.
And we see that Stevzy just immediately always able to equalize back up, it seems. We're at 6-6 in the third game of the grand finals. This game has kind of unleashed itself. And there's been so much scoring on both sides, and a lot of that was due to just weird errors or misses that you're not really used to seeing. So a lot on the line for both of these teams is obviously Stevzy wants to end it here, and that could be the finishing goal with 17 seconds left. Stealth finds a way back in. Revsy here able to have a nice dribble, get past Misty, and then also basically get past Gamma, leaving Stealth a wide open net. Somehow Stevzy has still been able to maintain their lead this entire time, and I just don't know how.
They just keep, it doesn't matter what happens, they're able to get it back and then just go right back the other way. So we've seen on the other side, though, Mighty P is able to score relatively quickly. They just got to find a way to put something together here and now, because this is it. This is the last goal that they need if they want to stay alive in this series. But they lost possession of the ball. It's on the ground, rolling across, and Stevzy takes the victory by 1. They make the comeback. They ensure a 3-0 sweep, and they ensure that first place prize. And congratulations to Stevzy, the qualifier #2 champions.
And deservedly so, obviously, beating Ambergesa in just the third round to try and advance themselves. They clearly were the team on top to beat and showcased it in the grand finals as well, even going into deficits multiple times in this series. I mean, most of the first goals, if not all of them, were in favor for Mighty P, and they just couldn't quite hold that lead. Mighty P looked, they looked to the finals, though. They still able to qualify. Let's take a look at the series replays, of course, powered by Microsoft ATL. But, I mean, you're happy. Obviously, if you're Stevzy, you got a nice first place. You're really happy to have beaten Ambergesa specifically to get here. But I still got to give it to Mighty P. You know, after not being able to get to a qualification spot last week, coming back in top 2 this time around, got to be happy about that one.
Yeah, and for sure, being able to put yourself in a position where you can, make it to the finals, understand, where you stack up against the competition. And for what it's worth, the fact that they go back and forth like this against a team that beat Ambergesa, I think shows significant improvement of this team over the last week, which is really good to see, that they kind of get a better understanding now of the competition, what they're going up against. It tells me that they potentially did a little bit of reviews or did a little bit of practice to, how do we be better 2v2 players? And it certainly showed itself there. And cannot give enough credit to Mighty P. I said their name at the beginning of the show, said this is a team you're gonna have to watch because our, frequent flyers are missing out of this one. And the fact that they went blow for blow against a team that contains Stealth and Revsy is just really reassuring to their skill level and the capability that they do have, assuming they can continue the success. But now it's just a matter of how's it going to stack up at the end of the month, because at the end of the month, when they are there is going to be teams like Top Cougars that have their full run. And by that, I mean like the Top Cougars A team, B team, and C team that all showed up. So there's plenty of Top Cougars that they're going to have to play another time. But congratulations to Mighty P, at least, for, really standing out here tonight.
Yeah, and obviously on paper, a 3-0 doesn't look nice, but in our visuals, that was a fantastic 3-0 nonetheless.
Yes.
Played by both teams. I mean, Mighty P lost the first game in overtime, the second game by 1 goal, I think, and then the third game by 1 goal in the last 20 seconds. So obviously, Mighty P had a chance to win all 3 of those games. Looking at the bracket, Stevzy had some incredible games. I think Mighty P had some really difficult games as well to lead them into the grand finals. So obviously, both deserved. And like you said, like I was saying, Mighty P really could have had won any of those games, and it wouldn't have been a 3-0. So I think even happy with that one. You get the qualification spot, you get some money, and now you're into the finals. Still happy about the way you played. I feel like I felt both teams played really well, and Stevsy just really were on top of their game today. I mean, to beat Amber Gase, you kind of have to, and they were able to do just that. So you have to give it over to both teams here, but of course to Stevsy for taking it all.
Yeah, and what they were able to do, as to how they were able to, go through the bracket is just impressive because, like, a team that you don't even see there is the defending Qualifier 1 champions, is the defending August champions in Amber Gase. Like, this is a team that has had ridiculous amounts of success, and Stevsy was able to knock them out and then continue their run through that because, like we said, if you beat that team, then more than likely you're going to find yourself here in the grand finals as a favorite to win. And they did both of those things. They checked both of those boxes. They won the finals. They got that $125. They're going to make it to the grand finals at the end of the month, just like Mighty P is. And of course, pending to the third place team that will be, of course, announced on the social media. So you can follow at Skillshot as well to be able to see that. And of course, all the updates as well on IATL.gg. But of course, not next week. We have a week off. So this gives the time for all these other teams to kind of get it together, figure out what their plan is, get their plus ones, save the date, put it on your calendar, whatever you got to do. September 23rd, same time, same place. We got our third and final qualifier.
Yeah, like you said, make sure to sign up. It is our last chance to qualify. You can see at the top there. So make sure to sign up for that one. If you didn't qualify today or last week, that is your last chance to get to the finals. And of course, you still get $125 up top and $50 for second. So even if you are one of the teams that qualified, there's still some extra significance to go into that one. But like you said, we're skipping a week. So next week, you get to take a break. Then the third week of September, we are going to find that matchup, see who's going to make it to the last finals, which I believe only 2 qualify from the third qualifier. So you have to play on top of your game. If you didn't play this week or last week, you have to be literally the 2 best teams in the tournament, and you have to try and get yourselves in the finals, which we're going to see the top 8 best teams throughout the entire month that we've seen so far here on the IATL.gg series. And looking at the finals, of course, going to be on September 30th, same time as usual, 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And we just get to see the even more action that we saw today. You love to see very close games. That's all you're going to see in the finals.
Oh, yeah. And it's going to be an absolute banger of an event as well. Best of 5s in that, and a best of 7s in the grand final, single elimination.
Yep.
So it's like, that's it. It's just top 8, and it's just the best of the best comes out on top. And that's all there is. $500 prize pool, like you said. So congratulations again to Stevsy qualifying out of this one. Of course, last week we had Amber Gesa, Top Cougars, and Rocket League 2's tournament, which very literal in name. I still love that name, but I'm happy I get to see them again, assuming they show up. But that, like, let's just bring this full circle and let's put a bow on this knot. Like,
Right.
you make it to the grand finals, just show up, right? Like,
That's
it's
it.
not
That's all you have to do.
all you gotta do is be there. We have plenty of
And
warning.
it's the same time. It's the same date. It's on a
Yeah.
Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific. So you've already made it once before. It's even more important, though, to make it to the finals. Like we said, top 50% of those teams get paid out. So it's a very good odds. It's just the only thing is you're facing some real good teams, as we can see
Yep.
from today's tournament, from last week, of course. Just some incredible play, kind of getting your last thoughts and everything. Trevor, how do you feel about how everything played out today? And, of course, Devsy taking the win.
I am very satisfied about how all this turns out because it kind of gives me that self reassurance that I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. Because, like, all the teams that I mentioned, both last week and both this week, have basically made top 4, except for Amber Gesa, which at that point it was before the randomization of the bracket. So, like, it's, how do you expect that? But you know,
Right.
besides that, the fact that you mentioned Stevsy and Mighty P as 2 teams that you're going to have to watch outside of Amber Gesa, both of them end up in the grand finals. It's just reassuring to see that the talent is coming through. And the fact that Mighty P is a second week team in the community open, that means another one of these teams is just lurking in the shadows because anybody can sign up. So just if you think you got what it takes to be able to sign up, compete against these players, any given week, our frequent flyers don't show up, there's a wide open road to the finals that Mighty P took today. And I can't give them enough props, enough credit because they make me feel good about myself. But now it's time to go watch some football. Let's go Bucks.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at too. Closing off on today's ceremony, of course, is awesome level of games, awesome skills to see, and just incredible gameplay overall. And like you said, Mighty P deservedly of that second spot had a A lot of potential coming from last week, and we saw it in the top 10 plays as well. And then going into the next week, going into this week, they looked really good and could have won any of those 3 games. So an incredible series. Of course, congratulations to Stevzy once again. We'll see them in the finals, and we'll see you guys back in just 2 weeks' time. We'll have another wonderful week of Rocket League, then leading into the finals. We will have a great rest of your night. So do you.